Hey, welcome to an episode of Hear Hoodlum. I'm your host, Hoodlum, and joining me on the podcast today is my girlfriend. Just tell us your name.
That's the first time I've ever been called that. Thank you. Hi, my name's Leo. Been seeing Hoodlum now for a few months, and we went to Adventure City last weekend, and it was a blast.
Yeah, Adventure City was a lot of fun. So this will be partway into the podcast, talking about various independent theme parks. So this is one of the segments of the podcast, and we're going to talk about Adventure City. So Adventure City is this small little micro amusement park that's a little bit south of Knott's Berry Farm in Buena Park, California. We went there for the first time last weekend, but I remember as a little kid driving past this place many, many times. There used to be quite a few shops right around it, a bunch of hobby shops essentially, and I remember going to one that sold RC cars as a kid. It seems like a lot of it didn't survive the pandemic, unfortunately. So it's kind of a dead parking lot area surrounding this little micro amusement park. Tell me some of your first impressions of the park.
Well, first off, actually, it was surprising because the first few minutes we were there, I was like, wait, have I been here before? I couldn't tell. And then you, on your phone app, they were showing like, oh, hey, here's like defunct roller coasters, or like, hey, all the roller coasters you've been on. And then when you showed me the old roller coaster that used to be there, I was like, oh my god, I was here like 20 plus years ago.
Yeah, the Wild Mouse was around for a long time. I know up to like through the 2000s, even maybe to the early 2010s, there was the Wild Mouse coaster. I think the new coaster that we went on was added right before the pandemic, shortly before.
Yeah. But yeah, once you showed me that, I opened up like so many old memories. I was just like, oh my god, I remember what this place like used to look like. And it's interesting because once I kind of had that reference, like, okay, things have changed. Like, there is still a few things. Like that one smaller coaster that was like in the dead center of everything, the Ferris wheel, like the petting, what's it called? Farm? Petting zoo.
Yeah, with all the goats.
Yeah.
Love goats.
Yeah, a few of those things, like, yeah, they hadn't changed at all, but it was just like, oh my god, yeah, all the outside stuff, it's been like updated and renovated. And even on a small little area there, it's like, oh my god, it's still crazy how much they were able to like fit in.
Yeah, it seemed like it was a really well like packed park. Like it seemed like there was just a lot of small details, and it made me feel like probably a lot of Knott's Disney designers worked on the park, would be my guess. I don't know the exact history, but I would put money on it that someone that there are probably a lot of designers from those two parks, because you could just tell that there was a lot of love and care put into the park in general.
Yeah. I mean, even if it wasn't directly, I mean, you're still going to have like, it's what, 2 miles of that from Knott's Berry Farm, if maybe less than 10 miles from Disneyland. There's going to be a bunch of like Imagineers or people that work at Knott's. It's like, it's going to have like, if you're going to want to make a tiny theme park like that would be the place to find basically freelance staff, if you think about it.
True. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it also because I was comparing Adventure City to some of the other micro amusement parks that I talk about in other parts of the special. And a lot of the other ones to talk about, especially in the mini golf range, tend to be a little run down and not very well upkept. And it's interesting comparing it to Adventure City because for this theme park's age, it seems like it is a very, very well like loved park. Like they honestly upkeep it really well. It seemed like in general there's just a lot of attention to detail. Like they had amongst all the different rides, they had all sorts of different little areas where they'd show you like little model trains. They'd have like decorations where walls would be decorated up to look like small town. A lot of Americana was kind of the focus of the theme park, frankly. But it was just really cool to see all those small details, because it's something you usually only get from the larger parks like Disneyland.
Yeah. What it felt like for me is back when I was in elementary school, back when also schools had money.
Yeah.
My school would every year would put on this like, little like community fair where there'd be a bunch of little stands, but also like, hey, they'd spring for some money to get like a little tiny like few rides and whatnot, and then just to sell food and little games here and there. That's what that park felt like. It felt like that just like 365 days a year. And when you're talking about the upkeep and whatnot, I did notice like how the park was laid out. It wasn't so much like, okay, it's like, it was very much grid-like, where rides and where buildings were in between, like the outside edges were all like the bigger rides were. But in between there, it's like, okay, the first bit of that was like a bunch of places to sit, get food, a million trash cans. Like there, you couldn't go more than like maybe 10 steps without running into at least one.
Yeah, I did notice that. That's part of what I was thinking when I was thinking about like the Imagineer design of making sure, like Walt always said, like, you know, having a trash can in sight was super important to keeping the park clean.
Especially when you're dealing with a park that, by and large, is targeted to a much more younger audience. I would say maybe like the best age for it would be like preteen and below.
Yeah, I feel like it was very targeted at like the elementary school audience. I noticed with a lot of the rides there, even like the slightly larger attractions like Rewind Racers, the way the ride was built was intentionally designed to like bring kids into the idea of doing more intense rides. Mm-hmm. Like on Rewind Racers, they had like that countdown that seemed to like ease you into the roller coaster. So like, it felt like very much like it was something like trying to get kids excited about going on bigger thrill rides and get them more to the point where they could go to Knott's Berry Farm or, you know, Magic Mountain and be able to ride those rides eventually. But it's like a stepping stone kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. It's the shallow end before you basically go into the deep end of the pool.
Exactly.
But we were talking about that too. It's like, yeah, there's that back there. There's the petting zoo. There's the drop tower, and there's a few other bigger rides back there. And there's not as many places to sit. It feels like, okay, this is the area where you're going to tire yourself out, and then you can rest before you go back over there. That way, it's like it's not intermingling the two different kinds of like where kids are energy-wise. And I think in that regard, it's like, okay, that's very smart in the layout, because it's like you can keep the energy very separated, even though the crowd's always busy.
That just makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything in general seemed like it was really set up well for families. I did like the amount of like benches just available everywhere, and food prices were pretty cheap at the park, which I'm sure was kept down to like keep it like that. Yeah, like honestly, it's not like paying like $10 for like a drink at Disneyland.
Yeah, we got a what do we get? Like a chili cheese dog, a pretty decent amount of curly fries, and like a frozen lemonade, all for about $20. And I'm like, there was no way that would be $20 at Disneyland.
Not even close.
35, 40.
It definitely seemed like a park that was intended to be budget friendly while still being nice.
Yeah.
And I can tell the difference. Oops, sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. It's fine. You're good. You sound good.
I'm still getting used to the podcast, not to talk over people thing.
But yeah, the price is really threw me off. And also, like, just the little gifts you can get. Like, a bunch of random stuff. Like, you could go and, like, see little gift shops there, and it was, like, old arcade. Like, there was little random knickknacks, stuff like that. It's, like, it had no IPs. This was not a
notably.
By, like, here's our mascot, or here's something we basically partnered with. It was very much like, yeah, you know what's cool? Robots, dinosaurs, and
trains. They love their trains there.
Princess train. Yeah, it's like that stuff's always gonna be, I don't know, interesting to kids.
That's true. Did they even have a mascot? I feel like they didn't.
I mean, I could think of the logo in my head where it's just kind of like, hey, it's someplace. But
yeah, it's just kind of that like Indiana Jonesy kind of font for Adventure City.
Yeah, but there's no like mascot like someone walking around like an adventurer or stuff like that. I can't think of anything in that regard.
I just think it's very notable. Also, this is very much feels in a lot of ways in the same vein as those kind of like roadside mini golf parks. It just feels like the really nice version of it. Like, I've been to a lot of those little mini golf parks and I love them, but like some of them can get pretty sketchy in terms of like upkeep. For example, there's one park that I think we'll talk about in a different part of this podcast, or already have, depending on how we edit this. But the Park Castles and Coasters, which has always felt a little rough around the edges, which was part of the fun of it, but it never felt like a family park the way this one did. This one feels like, I don't know, there's just a lot of attention to detail. It's really hard to like drive in just how much I feel like the people that run this park like cared about keeping it like consistent.
Yeah. I also do when I had the, like, you always keep mentioning look at the family aspect of it, but even as a date, and I felt like we weren't, like, out of place at all.
No, yeah, and I think it came down even to the way they, like, advertised on their website. Like, I was looking at the ticket page, and it was very explicitly said 0 to 54 for, like, their ticket price, like, for the normal ticket price. Like, I think they don't want adults to feel out of place there. Like, they want anyone to be able to come enjoy it, even though it's targeted more at families.
Yeah.
Which is different than a lot of those parks where I feel like very explicitly they're either for kids or for adults. Which I think kind of clicks at the whole idea of them trying to get that more localized audience that maybe doesn't have the money to spend on Knott's Berry Farm all the time, but still wants to have a nice day out.
Mm-hmm. I'd say also like a good benefit of it is that like you can do the whole thing in like 3 hours max.
Yeah, it's definitely like a short like afternoon trip.
Yeah, it's not an all day like, okay, I'm going to be committing the next like 8 hours here. It's like, yeah, after like 3 hours, I think we were both kind of like, yeah, we had our fun. We had some food. We basically got on like all the big rides, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did pretty much everything substantial. We did the carousel, which is a really nice, cool old carousel. Though usually you were saying that it seemed like a lot of the wiring was updated, but it seemed some parts seemed original.
Mm-hmm. Say the center coaster, the one that was just kind of the loop.
Yeah, that one seemed like it had been there a while. Because like I was looking at the track design of that, and it reminds me of some of the older coasters at Magic Mountain in the kids area that have been around since like the 50s. Mm-hmm. And I think it's an older track design.
Yeah, if not that, there was a very similar one I can remember vaguely from when I was a kid, when I went the first time. It's like something very much like that was there. Maybe like had slight update in like the last 20 years.
Or maybe like updating the cars themselves.
Yeah, just for creature comfort and whatnot.
But I would be willing to bet that's the original track design that's been there a long time, just based on the style of the track that was laid out there. The other one though, the newer coaster, Rewind Racers, seems that they kind of highlight that when you go into the park, and it's actually a solid little family roller coaster. I kind of liked it a lot.
Yeah. I think it's a very... How long did you say the whole ride is? Like maybe a minute?
Yeah, about a minute, I'd say.
Oh. I feel like, it has like a few nice little quick turns on it. It has a nice little simple enough story to follow along with, and we did write it back to back, and the TV screens that were kind of like telling the story, each time it was different.
Yeah, that was a nice detail. That was really like the small things you notice when like there's attention to detail paid at a theme park.
Mm-hmm. So even if like, okay, the kid's like, oh, we're going to run it back to back times, it's like, you're going to see something new each time, and I don't know. It makes it so that even if it's a short ride, I'll write it a few more times just to kind of see like what's different things going on with this time.
And just to give the audience an idea of what Rewind Racers looks like, essentially when you pull up to Adventure City, there's a lift hill that takes the car up backwards to start off the ride. And it's an out and back coaster. And there's a countdown, and after the countdown, you drop down the hill that you went up, race through the station, and then go through a couple of turns. And then you go back up a different lift hill into the same little station where the first lift hill is. And then the ride repeats itself in reverse. It's kind of cool to have a ride like that's a nice little twist. As opposed to like if it was just like a full-on loop of like the other coasters at the park.
Yeah, and it maximizes the... It hides the strengths, but also... Not hides the strengths. It exudes the strengths, but also hides the weaknesses of the park, being like, it's very small. It can't make a bigger track than really that, otherwise it's gonna like eat up all the other rides, but also like, you don't want a ride to be too small to where it's like, okay, this is our big attraction, but it's like only for 30 seconds, so you basically take a 30-second track and make it a minute long, but also keep it so it's a different point of view, it keeps it different angles.
Yeah, I think it's just by like building up that anticipation also. But before you drop from the area both times, especially at the countdown, they do.
Yeah, it's very much like, I don't know, like for a small park like that, do you think they could realistically make a bigger coaster?
I don't think they could.
The rest of the park.
I mean, my thought here is that they have all the area outside of it, which I think was the more disappointing part of the park. And I know a lot of that has to do with the pandemic. There used to be the outside portion of the park that had a bunch of hobby shops, and those have been around for a very long time. My mom personally remembers having gone to a bead shop in there, and I remember going to the RC car shop that was next door, and it seemed like the vast majority of those shops were closed.
Yeah.
I think if they weren't able to refill those slots with new hobby vendors, I think it might be worth them considering a small expansion, maybe taking out part of that parking lot or something like that to add in more space for rides. But I mean, I would hope that they would reopen the Hobby City, but I also know that hobbies are in a very different place than they were 20 years ago.
I think it's it is kind of hard because it's like, what do you put there that doesn't like actually will sell?
Yeah, that's the thing is like I think because of the fact that hobbies just aren't where they used to be, especially like model trains have substantially decreased in popularity compared to where they were. I think the best option might be for them to expand the park.
For some reason, my head defaults to a bakery of all things.
Hey, they could.
I just want to get a little fancy little like the little cupcake things we had, or little Danishes we had before we went there.
No, there's definitely more they could do. I mean, they could turn. I mean, it should in practice work like a mini downtown Disney. I think it needs some love and care for sure. They need to find some people to open up shops in there because there's only like 3 in there currently. There's like the Gem and Mineral shop and like the party store and I think an escape room, which is cool, but it seemed pretty dead for the most part. It was kind of just a parking lot for the amusement park at that point.
Yeah.
I just think potentially they could take up some of that footprint and probably add in a little bit more stuff if they wanted to. I don't know what their financial situation looks like, but if I was thinking about expanding the park, I wouldn't be a bad idea.
I'd also probably say do you want to expand it? Because I feel like when we were there, besides everything, the crowd was constantly busy. There wasn't like it was any kind of dead time when we were there. So it's like, expansion of the park itself, maybe not, but if they just kind of wanted to like clean up the park so there wasn't like a little extra divide, maybe add some more stories, or not story elements like throughout there.
Yeah, maybe.
Like,
I'm just trying to think of like if there were any like rides they wanted to add to the park. Like
they wanted to like be like one big Ferris wheel.
That would be a good choice for the park because the Ferris wheel they had is pretty small, and I feel like they could use a decent sized Ferris wheel, and that'd be a pretty good draw to the park.
Just so people understand, the Ferris wheel is so small there, we both couldn't be in one cart.
Yeah, it was like a 400-pound weight limit or something like that, and I think, yeah. They said no to us being in the same one, so.
It was just kind of a thing where it's like, yeah, and even me sitting in one where it's like, I'm losing weight too, but it was just like, that thing was like, I was dipping on one side a lot, and I'm like...
Oh yeah, no, I was like falling back in the seat, I get that.
But yeah, it has the benefit too that it's like it's right next to all the other like. Again, you had something that actually could get like maybe even 100 feet there. You're seeing knots, you're seeing Disney, you're seeing basically. And honestly, if you really want to like basically piggyback off those, you basically do the Ferris wheel like during nighttime, and like that's when like the fireworks shows will be happening on Disney. You can see it for free.
Yeah, really. That'd be a thought. If you pointed in the right direction, you pointed to the east.
Just basically, just come at night. Oh wait, no. The other problem is that the Ferris wheel will probably be super bright, and there's like houses right next to it.
That's true. I mean, I guess they could do like that's true. Maybe there might be a height limit there because of the nearby houses. They don't have to light it up with LEDs though. It could just. I mean, it's mostly open during the daytime anyway.
Yeah, but I also feel like you're gonna have a Ferris wheel. You're gonna want that like. You want that to be an interaction, much like how a coaster when you're like on driving like past down the street, like it's kind of cool. I'll check that out.
That's true.
It'll be a giant white billboard that like that's gonna draw your eyes towards it.
Well, maybe you could do something like the Santa Monica Pier. That has a decent little Ferris wheel that I don't think is too obnoxious in the skyline. Let's take a look at it again. I'm gonna pull up a picture online.
Yeah.
No, I guess that one's pretty lit up.
Yeah, although I probably should say that, like, speaking about like light and noise, it was like the second we like got outside of the park, it was so quiet.
Yeah, it didn't have much of like a sound impact on the surrounding neighborhood, notably. And there were houses like right next door.
Literally like right across the street from it. And it's we just walked over there to kind of just like take some photos and hear things. It's like I couldn't hear the coasters at all outside of like the one turn that was like the closest possible to us.
Yeah, there was like that. And the only other thing I could hear was like they have that little like stage where they do like the little kid raves. Mm-hmm. And like you can hear like that. That's what I call it. Basically what it was.
Yeah.
So that was cute.
Little makers and
get all the kids running around.
Tire them out.
Exactly. The other thing I wanted to bring up was the train. I really liked the train. I'm a sucker for any sort of small train you get to ride around with a lot of miniatures, and I thought this was a pretty good one. It kind of reminded me of the one at Griffith Park. where it's just a small, very small train you sit on, and it takes you around a bunch of very cool, like, decorated scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm a sucker for small trains.
It was very. It was old, but it didn't feel clanky. There was a charm to like all of its like little wears and tears.
Everything honestly felt really well upkept in terms of like ride maintenance, and it was like notable that like the coasters were extremely smooth. Mm-hmm. Like I don't feel that at any other theme park other than maybe like Disney when they're on their game, and even then Disney's got some older rides. It felt like Adventure City genuinely like they really pay attention to keeping things maintained. If you go to Castles and Coasters, like you'll see just how bad it can get. That place is sketchy.
I'm enough, like this is my sole reference, so I'm sure there's much more horror stories like I could see and go to. I was just in general like okay, that train's probably been here for a while. The place opened up in 1994, and it feels like that train has been there since 1994.
I believe that. I mean, especially with like the that video that was playing on loop, that looked like a 90s era video.
Mm-hmm. That was very much a VHS tape that they had basically burned out of a CD, which then got burned into like a USB stick. That's
probably stored in the cloud now. No, overall it was a cute park though. I really liked it. In the future, if I had some kids with me, I'd definitely take them over there. I think it's worth the time to check out if you haven't seen it before. And
I very much like to go again.
Yeah, it's a really unique park for Orange County too, and I think it gets really overlooked because of the fact that it's right next to Knott's Berry Farm.
Yeah. I mean, no matter what, it's never gonna get the attention of like every other park that's around it. But
no, of course not.
If you give it a try, it is a park that's very much like it's banking on the locals to go to it, and I feel in turn that it basically does get that nice little like. It has a community feel that I don't think you're going to get with any bigger park, where I can see people going here like every few weeks for like, constantly growing up, just like, yeah, it's fun, get out for a couple hours, see other local friends, or just they have birthday parties there. Oh my god, the little birthday spot they had, like where we went through the train, whatnot. That looks so cute.
Oh, that was cute, yeah. Well, there was like a couple of them too, because there's also like that giant tree that they had stuff inside of.
Yeah, like it feels so well made just for like, yeah, you can do birthdays here, basically field trips with kids, you can anything. I don't think it would underdeliver in any context.
Yeah, I just liked how much attention to like detail it had, just the fact that it felt like they cared at the park. And I've been to a lot of little kids parks where it seems like they're doing the bare minimum effort. So I appreciate them putting the time into actually creating something that like kids will actually like be able to enjoy, not just to the bare minimum extent.
Yeah. My sole complaint is that the icy machine wasn't working.
Fair.
I love the cherry icy, and I thought I couldn't have that. It's like, oh.
Fair. All right. Do you have any closing thoughts on the park?
No, I feel like I basically said everything I basically had on it. Just again, thank you for thanking me and basically taking me there. It was a wonderful time, and
it's a nice date.
It was a very fun date with you. Thank you.
Very well. And then on the rest of this podcast, I'm not quite sure how this will all be ordered yet, but we'll be talking about mini golf parks. We'll be talking about crazy water parks in Mexico, and we'll be talking about high-tech newer amusement parks. So stay tuned for those segments.
Have fun.
Hey, so welcome to another episode of Hear Hoodlum. This is part of a series on independently run theme parks. I don't know what part of the videos will be placed on. I'm sure my editor will decide at some point. But this segment, we're going to talk about a water park that's just south of the border here in California called Albricas El Virgil. Joining me today is my coworker, Federico. Federico, come introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. This is Federico. I imagine I'm the first international guest, so yeah, it's quite an honor. And I am a reporter, and right now I'm working on PR. So yeah, I'm doing a bunch of shit, and I've known Max for like 3-4 years or something like that. And yeah, it's amazing to be here.
Yeah, back when you were in LA, right? And then you're in Buenos Aires now.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. I used to live in California. I lived there for like 2 years or something, and now I'm back in Buenos Aires. So yeah, it's a whole international thing, and you guys wouldn't know how hard it was to get this podcast going, considering the time zones and all of the oh gosh, what's it called? Daylight savings and all that.
Oh yeah, I think daylight savings is what screwed me up actually on the podcast time. I'm realizing.
Yeah, right.
Like that's the reason yeah, that's why I screwed up the time. It's daylight. God damn it. That explains it.
Well, whatever. It's still going on. So yeah, I'm happy to be here, dude.
Happy to have you on the show. So to start off this segment, basically a while back I was on Reddit and I remember I came across this video of a water slide and it was called the Slip and Fly. And basically what you would do is you would climb up to the top of basically this ski jump and you would race forward and like go like face first in like a push-up position down a slide, maybe like 30 feet or so, and then it would launch you up into the air off like a ski jump. It was honestly some of the craziest shit I've seen. And so I got the bright idea. I was like, wonder where this place is. So we ended up finding out that it was not that far from Los Angeles. It's in Tijuana, over on the other side of the border. And it's only about a 15-minute drive from like immigration. So I was like, fuck it, you know what, I gotta do a trip to Tijuana. So there was years and years of me wanting to go to this place and never actually going there. You know, my dad will get all sketched out and not wanting me to go hang out in Tijuana.
Oh yeah. Like we were in the office back when we were working together and shit, and Max shows me this weird ass video, and I'm like, oh holy shit, dude, that looks fucked up, and then Max was like, yeah, let's fucking go there. I'm like, you sure you want to do this, dude? And
I was so down. I was ready to go flame myself off a crazy ass water slide, some sketchy park.
Oh yeah, and I was like, well, fuck it, let's do it. What's the worst that's gonna happen? And yeah, it was weird. Fucking Tijuana, dude.
That's a place. Like Tijuana is like, I really liked a lot of pieces of it, but it's pretty sketchy. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah.
No, like there's definitely some parts of town, but anyway, when we started heading towards the border, we booked like an overnight hotel, and I'm glad I had you with me because I don't speak Spanish very well. So like, right. I think it would have been more fucked if I didn't have you with me to translate.
Right. Well, the thing I can tell you about Tijuana is that just the fact that that someone doesn't speak with a Mexican accent, like people notice, and they look at you differently when you're not from there. They look at you like, what the fuck is this dude doing here? and yeah, that was very strange.
I don't know. Yeah, it was the experience. It was kind of like, you could tell where there were like touristy spots, and then you could tell once you got away from the touristy spots very quickly.
Oh yeah.
Where you're like, the tourists don't hang out here. You are very much the minority.
Oh yeah, and it was an issue of like, it was something like feet from the touristy area. You just got away a couple feet, and people were like, oh okay, this is different. This is seedy.
Yeah. I'll tell you though, it certainly was the place to find all sorts of weird little hole-in-the-wall places. Like those 2 record shops we checked out really had some sick music at them.
Yeah, definitely. I remember picking up a couple records by... I think I made you get some Soda Stereo and some...
Yeah, I still got those.
Yeah. That's a fine-ass records, dude.
Good shit. But, so day one, like the first thing we did once we crossed over the border is we called an Uber, and we made our way down a freeway towards the eastern side of Tijuana. And the eastern side of Tijuana is really far away from like what you typically think of Tijuana. It's like, it's not the downtown area, it's not the beach. It goes way into this residential area that's, I think it's very poor in that area. And it was literally a shanty town. I mean, there were basically makeshift like houses all over the place. The further down the freeway we got that direction.
Yes. I can tell you, just getting there is like part of the experience, because you're like straight up going through these sort of slum, something like that. Like most houses look like they are made out of like just brick, and that's the whole thing. And like they'll be lucky if they have electricity. Some of the places. So yeah, it's not for the faint of heart, or if like you get uncomfortable by like just looking foreign.
No, you definitely got to be willing to put yourself out there just to get to this place. I mean, my recommendation for anyone that wants to get there is to just Uber from like downtown or the border. Because I would not recommend driving in Tijuana. That looks sketchy.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I remember like when we were trying to leave or something, like we asked the guard whether what was the best way to get out of the park and stuff, and they were like, yeah, just get an Uber, but get an Uber from here. You don't want to get an Uber like just by going out.
Yeah. Because, you walked out and you just felt sketched. Just not being inside the park.
Yeah. Like the guy was like, yeah, just get it from here. You're going to get mud.
Wait, so we arrived at the park, right? It was like when you finally get to the park, it's surrounded by the shantytown, basically. It's in the middle of it. So on this hill, and you can see a bunch of houses. I think the person that owns the property probably had a house in there and slowly built it up over time.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed. 'Cause, like a lot of the old like water park equipment was like inside of this guy's garage, and you can kind of see some of the older water slides in there.
Yeah, it must have been something like that. Like, it's a huge property regardless. Like, well, I mean, I guess it's not huge compared to something like, I don't know, Disneyland. But yeah, this place was pretty big. It's not just a bunch of pools piled up together.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing. Is like you only in all the Instagram and TikToks that show the actual slide. Like you don't see the rest of the park, but the rest of the park. It's a pretty sizable park. There's a good amount of water slides there. It felt like a full-size water park, just kind of a ramshackle one, one that was like, this is a little sketchy, but you're gonna have a lot of fun as long as you don't hurt yourself.
Oh yeah, and I mean, like it's just built different. Like you kind of have to go there and like make your own fun and decide to go everywhere. Like it's not like there's mascot or there's guides or there's like any kind of information. It's like, yeah, you're inside.
Yeah, it was interesting because like it's a really cheap entry fee, right? It's only about $12 USD to get in. And you got inside the park, and it felt like kind of like a bunch of like small little restaurants and bars were kind of set up all over the place, and like people selling random stuff. And then people were like grilling their own tacos inside the bar. Or not inside the bar, inside the park. Like it felt like it was just very community run.
Definitely. And I remember like they were really pushing alcohol there. Like I didn't feel that way when I visited.
Like $2 beers and shit.
Yeah. I didn't feel that way when I visited American parks. But people there were like drinking beers and all kinds of hard liquor and shit.
Honestly, it felt like a backyard barbecue kind of party. You're walking around with people grilling, people got like a sound system going, and they were playing, various pop music. It was kind of fun. You're just walking around and like seeing the mix of people there. Like it felt like that summer place that you go to and party at.
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly the vibe. That's just it.
And throughout the park, there was I don't think we can pull up the website. But there was a bunch of attractions there. We gave pretty much all of them a try. And they all were just a little bit sketchy. Just a little bit over the line of what felt safe in like a really fun way.
Yeah. Just to look at it, it was like, you'd get like sort of an adrenaline rush just looking at it and thinking, oh god, I'm going up there.
I'm just like, they had like most of the extreme slides are like on the west side of the park. That's where they have slip and flies on like the very far west side, I'd say. Or no, east side.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking the east side of the park. East side of the park's kind of where they have the extreme stuff.
Right. I remember, I don't know what was west and what was east, but I remember straight up after you enter, like there's this more safer looking area with slides that are more for kids. And I want to say,
Yeah, so they have like the rope swing and stuff like that into the smaller kids area.
yeah. But as soon as you start like walking up left through that sort of main road or something like that, you start getting into the weirder side of the park where the more extreme slides are at.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at some of the slides here. You should pull up the website. But I remember there was like that racing slide. That's one of the ones that stuck out to me, where you stood down on it and then there was a bump and it launched you into the air off the slide and then back down onto the slide.
Yeah.
Like, that thing was sketch.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the more dangerous ones in the park, frankly. But it was really fun.
Got them. But yeah, like water makes you go really fucking fast. Like you kind of have to respect the water, and you sometimes just don't realize it if you go into this type of parks and shit. But just the kind of speed that you gain in some of those, it's like, oh man, you have to respect the water.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, it was definitely a park where like they have an EMT on the side underneath Slip and Fly to give you an idea.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I do remember there was like that log rolling one where like you were supposed to crawl across it, but we were definitely seeing people like try to attempt to walk across it. And like the water underneath it was not that deep.
Yeah. Like it was some kind of like American Gladiator shit where...
Rodeo Loco, that's the name of it. Looking it up on the site here.
Yeah, where the thing was fucking spinning and you had to go from side to side, and it was really hard. I remember just being able to go up like a few feet, and that was that. Like I slammed against the water.
Yeah, that thing was tough. I couldn't pull it off for sure.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. That's like for people in way better shape and way better equilibrium than I do.
Well, speaking of the rope swing from earlier, I'm taking a look at it. The Tarzan rope swing here. I just remember that thing, like, if you screwed up, you were going to fly back into the platform that you jumped off of. So you had to, really, go, jump from the platform to, stand a chance.
Yeah. Like, you have to be sure and you have to let go. Like, if you dub for a second, you're going to slam against, some kind of cement type thing, and you're going to have shit burn.
Oh, man, there was a lot of crazy slides here. Do you remember the one that was, you were on an inner tube, but then they spun you around and you went down, a bunch of bumps?
Yes.
Avalancha, that's what it's called.
Thing. I think that was built straight up on a tower where you kind of had to choose your difficulty or how long it was going to be, but they all ended up in this type of funnel type thing, so you could climb up as high as you want to, and it was a bumpy slide.
Yeah, that was definitely the primary tower in the park that had all the slides coming off of it.
Yeah, that was definitely really colorful, really colorful type of stuff and blah. But I remember people were as soon as you try to get on, hey, do you have anything in your pocket? We don't want,
Don't get stabbed by your own keys.
Thing, yeah. I thought it was a security type thing. Hey, you might want to leave your things here, or you're going to get hurt. No, it was just so you wouldn't scratch the slides with your key, because that's how fast you go.
Fair. Yeah, I've definitely seen that at a lot of parks, but it was funny there because you can see some people pushing the rules just a little bit there. It kind of reminded me of Action Park kind of deal. I think I talked about that in other parts of this podcast, but it reminded me of regulate your own fun kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Your safety's kind of your own deal.
I just remember that this actually happened. So my swimsuit, my swim trunks had a zipper on the side.
Oh yeah.
People were oh no, you can't wear this to this slide. And I'm oh no, what the fuck am I going to do? So I had to go to the bathroom and wear my swim trunks inside out just so the zipper wouldn't be like slamming against the side of the slide.
I remember there's a couple parks I've been to where they have, even in the U.S., where they have that kind of policy. When I was at Hurricane Harbor here in L.A., some of the more intense slides, they require, like the ones that have the trap doors on them, they required you to flip things around for like one summer, and then they changed the policy the next summer or something. I don't know. I think it depends on how strict the lifeguard is that's there. Definitely noticed that. Right.
Yeah. These guys can get up in your ass, and it's especially a problem if like you speak the same language. Luckily, yeah, I was covered.
Fair. And then there was the Twister slide. That was the other one that kind of stuck out to me on the tower. Because they had like two like pretty standard drop slides, but the Twister one like threw you into one of those bowls that you go around but on your back. And like when you fell at the bottom of the hole, it was actually a pretty far drop down into the pool below.
Yeah, that was like, oh gosh. Like I don't even know feet, but it must have been like 3 meters or something.
I'd say like a 10-foot drop out of the bottom of that down into the actual water. Like it felt like a substantial drop when you actually fell out of the toilet bowl.
Yeah, like at least two humans on top of each other. Like pretty much that was the height.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Then there was like towards the back of the park, there was like that really chill like swim up bar. I mean, remember those like little kids that kept trying to like talk with us? They were funny.
Oh yeah. Like this place is kind of like really fucking relaxing. Like there's this sort of beach shack type thing, and
like literally the stools were like underwater. I was like, it felt like one of the the water park equivalent of one of those beach resort kind of deals.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's kind of like the one part that feels like, I don't know, really touristy, really Cancun type shit or something like that.
And what was funny though, like even though it was chill right there, it was also next to like probably one of the sketchiest slides in the park, Anaconda.
Yeah.
That was like the red slide that like shook on the outside. I was like, that thing sketched me out more than anything else in the park, I think.
Yeah, I remember like the slide goes around this huge fucking pool. Like it's a huge pool. Like I don't even know how to explain how big this is, but it was pretty much a small lake, and I don't know, you maybe had to go upstairs for like 10 minutes before you could go up on any of these slides. Maybe 10 minutes is an exaggeration, but I'm sure at least 5 you had to go up 5 minutes of stairs to get there.
That sounds about right. I'm just remembering a couple like small details about the park also. There's a couple of things that tripped me up. Because like Mexican laws are like different than US laws regarding like pool safety, none of the pools have their depths marked. That's one thing I noticed very different compared to water parks here, where everything has like, 6 feet, 7 feet, whatever. So like all the pools there just seemed like they were just kind of, you had no idea how deep the pool was until you jumped in or took a look.
Definitely. It was something like, well, you don't know how to swim, you shouldn't be doing this, dude.
Yeah, really. That's why it reminded me like Action Park, very much that your safety's your own kind of deal.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It really did remind me of it. And the other thing,
a documentary on Action Park after we went there, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's this kind of place.
It is really a throwback. One of the other things I remember also like is that like, there was a lot of like phone. There was like a phone booth or two in the park, and like pay phones. That was wild to see because like you don't see that at all anymore in the U.S. hardly, or at least not in California.
Yeah, precisely. Like, well, just because it was on the other side of the border, like I remember, I don't know what phone company you have, but
T-Mobile.
I didn't have. Okay. I had. Oh gosh, what was the name of the company with the fox that Ryan Reynolds sounds?
Yeah, that one. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's Mint Mobile. I remember I didn't get any coverage there. So like, I guess I could have used the phone booths if I used to.
Yeah, really.
But, yeah. Yeah, you were covered.
No, I was happy. I'm like, there's like, if you were close enough to the border zone, there was no extra charge, and then I think it covers like Canada and Mexico except for calling. So like, T-Mobile's pretty good on that. So yeah, if you need international calling for North America, it's not a bad choice.
Yeah, definitely. I remember having a shit time with Mint back then, but I'm not sure. I think that Mint was sold to another company, so...
Probably. They're all starting to consolidate.
Yeah. Fucking capitalism, but let's not get over there.
As it goes. Well,
Yeah.
the main part of the park, the big attraction, right? So when you start walking further east past the tower in the park, because there's a bunch of benches underneath the tower, right? You see, before you actually see the slide, you see a sign that shows how far people are jumping off the slide. If you remember that, it's like a weird little like the posters there is just like preparing you for the slide itself before you actually walk over.
Yeah, like they try to let you know, like, hey, this is a big one for you.
They're like, this is our star attraction. This is why people come over the border to our park. Like, this is it. This is the attraction here. This
is what got Max to come to drive over to Mexico.
Well, yeah, I wonder how many people actually go to Mexico just go to a water park. Oh dear. But you walk in, right? And when you walk into the park, or when you walk into the park, when you're walking over to where the slide is, there's like a whole audience of people around the outsides. And basically what they're doing is just watching people eat shit when they land wrong.
Pretty much.
They clap sarcastically when you fuck up.
Oh yeah. Like it's you don't have to go in the slide to have fun. Just sitting there is like, okay, I'm going to watch these fuckers get smashed.
Yeah, because like if you land wrong in this thing, oof, because you're literally going off a water slide ski jump. I mean, looking at the picture here, I think you hit like a solid like maybe 25, 30 feet in the air before you fly down into this pool. That's not an exaggeration. You are high up off this jump. And if you hit the water wrong, it fucking hurts. It'll knock the wind out of you.
Yeah. It's definitely not an exaggeration. It's like several feet up in the air, and like if you fall into the wrong position, I am sure you can get fucked up there.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, you could definitely like seriously hurt yourself. There's a reason the EMTs are there. And the lifeguards, like, if you land wrong, the lifeguards will get up out of their chair and start like swimming towards you just in case. Like I remember most of the times I managed to get like a pencil dive in, but on one of the things I leaned back a bit too much, and like I slammed side first, and that shit hurt. That knocked the wind out of me.
Yeah, motherfucker, I remember that.
You got it on video.
I got the whole thing on video, so yeah, I'm glad that's immortalized somewhere.
Maybe I'll share that on YouTube at some point. I can link to it. Shit's funny. Oh god, that hurt the time though. I think that was my last slip and fly for the day. I did like 5 or 6 times. Yeah. It was really fun.
Like I remember like we rode the slide like one time or something, and then we were like, okay, before we leave this place, we got to do this a couple more times.
It was so cool. Well, it was also like, oh god, there's so much stuff I just remember about that. Like, when you're climbing up the stairs to get past it, there's no real barrier between you and the people sliding down. So you're just like, you're walking up the side of it, and people are just racing past you at high speed.
Yeah. And like, you wouldn't believe how fast it gets. Like, I'm sure that if someone attempted to and try to go fast enough, I'm sure that at least you could get into a dangerous situation with the side of the pool. I'm not going to say you're going to fly outside of the pool or something.
No, but you might hit towards like the less deep part of it. I can see that happening. It's a huge pool that like catches you, but it's just like it does like get less deep the further out you go. So
Absolutely. So I'm sure you should at least let yourself be carried by the slide and like not try to gain speed, or you could end up like doing something really stupid.
Or you can be like some of the dumb people I saw who took running starts and jumped down it. I tried that once. It was fun, but sketchy.
Yeah, definitely.
Running start, jump down into a plank position. Okay, see, the one that like trips me up is the fact that people actually do go down on their feet. Because if you go down like feet first, you have to do a backflip basically, or you're going to land really horribly.
Yeah, you might land on your back and something and like get completely fucked up. So
like you really gotta like, if you're going like feet first, you have to make sure that like you flip all the way down so you can dive down in.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really way better to go with your head ahead.
Definitely easier.
Yeah.
Another tip for like anyone that wants to try this out, the middle one is way more of a jump than the two side ones. Like the middle one, I think launches you at least an extra 5 feet in the air, just based on the angle of the ramp. So start on one of the sides.
Higher.
Yeah, no, you can tell the difference too. I did the middle one once, and I was like, "Holy crap, that felt sketchy." The height I was at.
Yeah. Like I don't get intimidated by fucking slides, but just looking at it, that was like, oh, holy shit, that's completely different from the other.
And I'm looking again, and I'm like, now that slide's taller than 30 feet. I misestimated earlier in the podcast. That's more like 70, 80 feet, at least. Yeah, that sounds more right.
That's sketch. That's so sketch, dude.
It was. You gotta love it though. They're playing like they're blasting like party music at the bottom of the slide.
Yeah.
You got all like they got the Mexican flag and Tijuana flags and a bunch of other stuff up on the top of the thing. It's like a crown. It's the crowning jewel at the park. It really is.
Oh, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. And just the people, like they're sitting in the shade, just having their beers, sitting in tables and stuff. And just looking at the people slam their shit out.
I feel like locals show up just to watch people eat shit on that thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Grab a beer and watch the show.
Like once you've done that enough times, you just go there and like I don't know if they have yearly passes or something, but I just go and sit there, have my beer, like, and just look at dumb foreigners like us doing their shit.
They're like, another girl from San Diego's coming down. And, she ate shit. But this macho guy looks like he's overly confident, and he ate shit. All right, clap. Ah, dear.
Definitely.
For a little history on this park, apparently I'm looking at the website right now. It's been open since 1964. So this park's been around for a long time. It's newer than a lot of the water parks in LA, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised,
What's the guy's name? Mr. Lucio Salazar Gonzalez is the founder of the park.
Well, what a guy. Thank you for your service, dude.
Yeah, really? Oh, man. I do want to know, because they Sip and Fly didn't actually appear at the park till 2014. So I have to wonder, like, how they decided on that attraction. Because, like, I've seen a few other Slip and Flies in other parts of the world, but they're almost always at, like, extreme sports parks. Like, I know there's one in the U.S., but it's in Utah, at, like, an extreme sports park. You have to fill out a waiver and all sorts of stuff. Same kind of deal, but, like, I think there's way more rules. Because it's Utah.
Well, yeah, I imagine. I mean, my bet is that when a park has been around that long, like, having a park must be fucking expensive shit. So this dude must have been like, so I need some kind of attraction that will make people want to cross the border, like I bet most of the audience there is people from other cities and stuff. It's not like something like Disneyland where you can take kids every weekend and they'll still have fun. You want to get new audiences, and you want people to actually drive or do their however many miles or kilometers to get to you. And like having something weird like these slides and like how intense they can be is probably the only way like to get people to do that. Like, okay, let's.
I agree. I mean, like this water park would never have been on my radar if I didn't hear about the Slip and Fly on like Instagram, because like it was a thing on Instagram for a while, just showing like videos of the slide, and they let you take like selfie sticks and all sorts of stuff down the slide. So there's tons and tons of videos of this slide all over the internet. I mean, there's a chance you've probably seen the slide in a reel without even knowing where it was.
I mean, in a sense, I guess that's like some really punk rock shit because this thing only exists by word of mouth and the internet and blah. So, like, you kind of have to tell people about this so they will know about it. Otherwise, they might live their entire lives without knowing it exists.
True. Yeah, and like honestly, I think for anyone that's a water park enthusiast like me in California, it's really 100% worth the trip down here to go check it out. It is such a unique park, and like,
Oh yeah,
I'm the kind of person that like I prefer like the smaller I prefer smaller water parks that have some more intense attractions. Another one I think is very well worth the energy is Raging Waters on the east side of LA. Yeah, in the San Gabriel Valley, San Dimas. I think that one's a lot better than like your more corporately owned parks like Soak City or Hurricane Harbor.
yeah. Like one thing I can tell you on top of that is that it's really worth doing, especially if you are a foreigner, because like the type of change really works out for you. You know, like going to a park in the States can be $100 in some cases, and that's like fucking expensive. But then you get inside this weird ass park, you get a story to tell, and you pretty much paid less than $20 to get in there.
Yeah, and then get yourself some $2 beers.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ask the family if they're selling they'll sell you some tacos. Go for it.
Yeah, when was the last time you had a beer for $2?
Yeah, really. Not in a whole lot of places.
Yeah, definitely. And besides, you're still seeing the rest of Tijuana, which is like an attraction in itself, although not part of the park.
Yeah, I like separately from the park. Anyone that's heading to Tijuana should go spend some time walking around downtown for sure. What was the name of that rock bar we went to? It was like the Dragon or something like that. Yeah. It was like right up against the edge of the red light district, but not quite in there.
Yeah. Like, and when we say not quite in there, we mean literally, like, I don't know.
You went like one block down, you were there.
Away. Yeah.
It was like the very north edge of downtown that, like, unless you want to go to Zona Norte and participate, like, probably shouldn't go any further. Dragon Rojo Rock Bar. Anyone that's going to Tijuana should go check it out and see if they have a metal night going on.
Oh yeah. That was pretty good. That was so cool.
Yeah, like when we were there, it was like industrial they were playing. It was pretty cool.
What?
Yeah, it was like electronic. Yeah, it was pretty sick.
Yeah, they were having an industrial night we were there. That's correct.
That place is cool.
Holy shit, I had completely forgotten about that.
Yeah, I just remember, I think you're pretty drunk at that point, because we've been going up and down, like, downtown at that point.
I mean, that's a pretty good reason for forgetting things, you know? But, yeah.
Fair. But, yeah, that whole stretch of, like, downtown, basically from the Arch, pretty far south, I think is definitely worth checking out. I would also say anyone that's going there should check out Centro Cultural Tijuana, the main museum there. Which is a lot of really
fine-ass museum.
Yeah, there's some really interesting information, and it's also partially in English, so for any English speakers, you should be able to follow along without too much issue.
Oh yeah. You're going to see a lot of Spanish and conquistador type shit, and like, yeah, it's all pretty authentic and interesting. So yeah,
and it was interesting hearing it for like World War II, for example, from like Mexico's point of view, because like we only hear a very skewed version of it in the U.S. So. There's a lot of just interesting stories that we just don't talk about here, and that museum shined a light on a lot of that.
Oh yeah. It's like it goes to really recent 20th century history, and you're going to be learning a lot of interesting shit that you might not even have thought about. So yeah, it's definitely up there. Like if you're already there, that's another thing to do.
And then I know it's cliche, but for anyone heading to Tijuana, you should definitely go to, what's it called? Playas de Tijuana, so the beach over there. Go over to the beach right up against the U.S.-Mexico border. On the U.S. side, we have like this kind of weird like border area that's kind of like half a reserve. But on the Tijuana side, essentially it's just a big party beach city. And that was really cool just walking around there. Tons of mariachi on the beach, tons of cheap bars selling burritos and stuff like that. It was very much worth walking around the beach there, just checking stuff out. Really chill
like
vibes.
it's just really fun, you know. Like you're just walking down the beach, and there's like a fuck ton of bands playing all over, like all kinds of styles. Like you'll have from I don't know traditional Mexican music to rock band to big bands to whatever type.
That's true. I did notice quite
Like
a bit of a mixture of stuff going on there. Also, you come across a lot of people's quinceañeras, that kind of thing.
yeah. You just gotta be willing to be surprised, you know.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean that was our trip to Tijuana. I really think
Yeah.
if you haven't gone there, go spend some time Albercas El Virgil, and yeah, get outside of your comfort zone and give it a shot because I think it was really fun and well worth a visit, honestly.
Definitely. Like we might have spent there just 2 days or something, but we felt like we got our share of the place, and I definitely could have stayed more and do some other shit and stuff. But yeah,
I feel like
it's
if we had stayed
fantastic for
longer,
a short trip.
I feel like I would have wanted to go further south and check out more stuff a little bit further in, like Rosarito.
Yes.
If it wasn't just an overnighter, that's what I would do for sure. I feel like I got a pretty good feel for downtown, but yeah, south of downtown, I don't feel like we saw too much.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just a question: did you feel safe walking around the downtown and stuff? Like
Semi.
during the day? 'Cause yeah.
I can't say I felt totally safe, but I didn't feel like horrifically unsafe either.
No, absolutely. I feel the place has a way worse reputation than it deserves because, like, if you're walking around during daytime, you don't have to go walking around with your hand in your pocket. It's
No,
not
yeah,
like that.
it's not that bad. For especially like on the main drag where there's a lot of people around, it felt like a pretty normal kind of touristy city.
Absolutely. It's really colorful, really beautiful. But yeah.
I think the
I don't
main
know.
thing
If
is
you,
like,
if you start doing stupid shit at night, then you might get into trouble.
yeah, I mean, don't fuck around with drugs there. I mean, they don't. Weed's not even legal there. Don't fuck around with it. Don't bring weapons there because that'd be stupid. I will say, I think
yeah.
the part where I felt more sketched out was when we were walking around Zona Norte, where all the prostitution is, and I'm like that was a little bit of an area that I just recommend. You don't need it. I'm not going to judge you for doing prostitution, but like, I would not recommend hanging out in that area. It's not the safest place in the world.
Yes, definitely. 100%.
I'd stick around downtown, go to the beach, check out other attractions like the Centro. If you want to go to the mall south of it, we went to that, but it was kind of boring. But you can go there pretty safely.
Yeah. A mall's a mall.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
There really wasn't anything there. But the Centro next to it's really cool. So
That's definitely better.
I would say where I would watch yourself in Tijuana is going off into some of the side neighborhoods that are more on the shantytown side of things. Like the area surrounding like the water park, for sure. You don't want to be walking around in there. But to be fair, like there's not a lot of attractions in those kind of places anyway, so you're not necessarily being able to go in there. Of course, you end up at a show at some random place. My recommendation's just Uber to the house you're going to.
Definitely. The change once again is really favorable. So just spend an extra couple bucks. Don't be cheap.
Yeah, no, I mean it's like nothing there is that expensive. So like if you're coming from the U.S., you have the money to afford anything there, basically.
Definitely.
Like the hotel we stayed at was only something like $90 for that night. Wasn't bad. It was a pretty nice hotel.
Yeah, like I remember like not really spending a lot, like just not counting the hotel and stuff and whatever else. Like I think we spent somehow less than $100 for the entire weekend.
Yeah, like it really was. It was a cheap trip down there for sure. So or anyone for all podcast listeners, go check out Tijuana. Get past your preconceived notions about the place and go enjoy it. Because honestly, I think it's a city that has a lot of history, a lot of culture, and it's well worth a visit.
Oh yeah, there goes my house recommendation. So get over there.
Yeah. Any last thoughts before I pop this off to the next segment?
I guess I don't really have thoughts. You know how it goes. But yeah, I hope everyone goes there and has a lot of fun, and like that they let us know about other places that are sort of like that we can check out in the future.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks for having me, dude.
For sure. Yeah, thanks for being on the podcast. Yeah, I'm gonna pop it on to the next segment starting now. Hey, welcome to the segment of Hear Hoodlum. We're doing more stuff on fucking independent amusement parks. So, we probably already listened to more than one segment. If not, this is the beginning of it. Cool. I have no idea how Prince is going to edit this together, but this segment we're going to be talking about mini golf amusement parks. So these are the kind of weird little amusement parks you come across off the side of the road that usually has some sketchy attractions, been there for a long time, and I know have you seen the Karate Kid or Cobra Kai? They go to one of that, which I've actually been to. Anyway, joining me on the podcast today are my cousin. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Noah, also known as, and known online as, Hey, I'm Noah.
And also joining me is my friend, longtime friend since kindergarten. You can go ahead and introduce yourself too.
Hello, I am James, or Turbo Thunder, everywhere online.
Cool.
Yeah, we go way back.
Way back. All the way to elementary school.
You should follow my letterboxd.
Follow Noah's Letterboxd. He be film critic. Good film critic.
I was just saying you can get to it right now.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna kick this off talking about we're talking about mini golf parks. So I wanted to start talking a little bit about let's start with golf and stuff, because that's the first one I remember going to when I was a little kid. It's this weird little mini golf course in Ventura, city of Ventura, right off the freeway off the 101, and it's just an oddball little park. I remember going to it first for my 11th or 12th birthday or something like that, with a bunch of kids from my scout troop and then a bunch of kids from school. And I think James was at that one. Pretty sure you were there. And since I've been there a billion times with our friend group, just hang out for the day, it's always been kind of a chill little day outing.
I've gone to dates there.
Yeah? Can you tell us about your dates there, James?
Yeah, give us hyper-specific detail about everything.
I held hands there for the first time with my childhood crush.
Okay, this is
And then she got
Good stuff. Riveting podcast material.
Holy shit, James. On a podcast, this is public.
Getting lewd as fuck. NSFW.
Oh my god, holding hands. So sexual. Oh my god.
Or marriage?
Before marriage, James. Right in my salad.
Just too.
I see it's an informative segment of this podcast. All right, so... So I remember literally the first time I went to golf and stuff, the reason I wanted to go there is because they had a they had a fucking go-kart track. They had a golf and stuff, man. Now, they had a go-kart track, and I'd never been on a go-kart prior. And I wanted to go to MB2, which is it's K1 or whatever it is now. Actually, I think it closed. But there was a more high-speed go-kart place in town, but they were too dangerous, and my dad said no. So I went to golf and stuff to their gas-powered go-kart track. You were with me,
I remember, our
that.
whole grade doing an event there once, and I remember one of the mean kids in the go-karts just ramming everyone, in our class.
Wait, no, that was my birthday, I think. Because I think that was Ray Callan that was doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, because your parents invited most of the grade, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, disaster is the wrong word, because it was a very good show that you guys put on, but... I remember the old guy, the adult being like, all right, try not to ram into people, and then just everyone's ramming into everyone. It's just a mess. I had Elijah in my passenger seat because he didn't know how to drive a go-kart.
I remember that
I don't want
shit.
I don't want you in my seat. And I got stuck with them because I didn't like him back then.
Poor Elijah. Oh, man. Yeah, I do remember that day, though.
Fucking, what was that, SpongeBob boat bashing video game?
Yeah. Boating Bash, that's a game. That was the fucking hit game of my scout troop at one of our video game lock-in nights. You played fucking Boating Bash for hours.
And you're in a group, there's always that hyper fucking niche game, multiplayer game that no one knows about but your group. But you play it religiously. You just get good at it.
That's fair. To bring the topic back around to this independent amusement park here.
No, let's talk about multiplayer games now.
Maybe in the future. Hey, that's more podcast material for later. Talk about Mario Party suffering.
Oh, jeez.
So I'd golf and stuff there. It's very much localized little amusement park. There's not really any amusement parks of any kind in Ventura County. So So it's kind of cool just to have one tiny little like roadside amusement park. It has like 2 different golf courses, I want to say, within it.
Yes.
That were pretty well done. I mean, the thing with most of those mini golf courses is like a lot of the times they have like that really cool like the sculptures that are built by like small artists. So there is like a lot of them have like a lot of like and like love put into them. Honestly, it feels like to me. Like you said, these castles that are very intricately built. Like it feels like this is what kids that loved building cities went on to do as adults.
That's a good way of describing it.
I really feel like what they have on display is pretty much like, yeah, this fits the vibe pretty much perfectly. On one of the 2 courses, specifically at the golf and stuff that we're talking about, one of the courses splits in half, so they kind of have 2.5, where one course is just one straight through and the other course has 2 different endings, you could say.
Yeah, I do remember that actually, where like you had like multiple different like holes in different parts of the green.
Yeah,
honestly, there's a lot of really like unique like courses on these like mini golf places. I remember like all sorts of wild stuff where you'd have to like get you know the traditional windmills and stuff like that. But then you have stuff like there's levers you have to hit on some of them. I've seen you have ones where like you have to like score inside of like a skee ball, a little mini skee ball machine. Sometimes even like minimal animatronics. There's a lot of creativity put into most of these courses. Do you remember? Did we do mini golf when we were at Castles and Coasters, Noah?
We did not. I think we just hit up most of the rides. I've never been a big golf person, to be honest, or mini golf either. But the courses always do look pretty interesting.
Honestly, if you've never done them before, like you should we should take you on. It'd be fun. But yeah, I don't know. Just I remember like I have a lot of good memories on these kind of oddball places. Like I was saying, the Karate Kid and Cobra Kai, they actually go to the one in Downey, I believe, called what is it, Castle Park, something like that. And I actually went there recently on a date with my girlfriend. It was pretty fun.
Nice.
What else was there? I remember.
What is the trend of taking your like dates to like these like mini places? Like what the fuck?
Support your local businesses. That's the trend.
I see.
None of us can afford Disneyland. That's
means
why.
Local. Sorry, what did you say, Maxine?
I said none of us can afford Disneyland. So there you go.
True.
Speaking of independent places, Disneyland.
Yeah, that's independent. Yeah, okay.
No, Castles and Coasters is like, yeah, we couldn't afford a trip to California and pay for Disneyland. That's what Castles and Coasters is.
Yeah,
pretty much.
it kind of is.
We have no do not go to Arizona if you are like a coaster guy, like at all. We have 2 coasters. No, I guess we have 3. Oh boy, and they're all kind of
4 technically. 4.
Wait, what's the
the one in the Schnepp Farms, at least in the Phoenix area, because I think Tucson has like one.
Oh, are you talking about the Farmers Festival?
Yeah, that weird thing.
Yeah.
So one of the cool things about all these miniature golf places is they usually have a really weird assortment of like carnival rides and like just like they like the big always like amalgamations of like all the sort of stuff you'd see at like your local mall that would appeal to mainly local crowds. So there was on top of mini golf you had a go-kart course, and they were gas-powered go-karts. Most outdoor go-karts tend to be gas-powered. Not bad for what they were, but they don't go very fast. They had bumper boats, looking at the website here, to kind of half remember. That seems to be pretty standard at these kind of places. There was bumper cars, which I don't know about the bumper cars at golf and stuff, but I remember the ones at Castles and Coasters kicked ass.
Oh god, that was great. I remember like it was barely anybody there that day, so it was.
That's right.
We just got our group just got to like be on there for as long. Basically, like it was like 3-4 rounds. Like the guy was just really chill about us just bash each other around.
Yeah, I remember like those carts honestly had some real kick to them. There's a couple times I've been on bumper cars where I got like a little sketched out, and that was like one of them.
It's fun though. It's fun when like the equipment is a little like shittier.
A little bit like it's gonna break on top of you kind of deal.
Right, like I'm gonna like actually like murder the person I'm about to ram into. Like the 5-year-old that I'm like fucking dashing towards is gonna die.
It's like this kid's gonna get like whiplash right now, right here.
Gonna get launched out. Look like I don't know.
I'll tell you though, you know which there's these bumper cars I remember going to when I was a little kid in London at this place that like Namco owns and like near the London Eye. And I remember going there as a kid and being sketched out by them, and then as an adult I was like, I wonder if it's as bad as I remember them being. So when I was there in 2020, I went back to the same place and they still had the bumper cars. Yeah, no, those bumper cars are legit terrifying. Like you could get whiplash from those things easily. holy shit, they had some speed on them.
Jeez.
That was like, you take like the go-kart speed of like golf and stuff, but then combine it with a fucking bumper car arena. That's what it felt like. Oh man,
That sounds very wild.
It definitely would give you some knockback, you could say.
True. The other thing I remember, like most of these mini golf parks tend to have a pretty massive arcade, usually with a very Dave and Buster's, but a little bit rougher kind of feel to them. So like, you'll always have your standard like ticket games. I think those are most popular these days, especially now. I think you used to have far more like just more
Actual
standard
arcade games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's gotten a lot more. I don't know. It's wild how capitalism seeps into fucking arcades. Like, Jesus. Like, now it's all about the tickets, and I don't know. It feels like it's like gambling, but like for 5-year-olds.
Yeah, you walk into a Dave and Buster's, and I've always felt like it was pretty much gambling, but like not. Gambling, but you're not winning any money.
Gambling, but you're spending money just to get a $5 Cool Panda plushie, $50.
Yeah, and pretty much. One of the things I also remember there, and I don't think it's there anymore, was they had this blow-up tent that was laser tag. Do you remember that, James?
I'm thinking.
Like, they had that window that like people would just like dive through because it was like a blow-up tent.
I'm trying to remember where that would sit.
It was like next to like their bumper car arena by like where the benches are.
You're trying to envision
Because I definitely remember what you're talking about, because their inflatable thing was I would not want to do that as an adult. It's just, it feels like you're in a bouncy house and you're constantly having to squeeze through pillows, like in a pillow fort, but it's all plastic rubber.
Oh, that sounds really claustrophobic.
And
but you're doing laser tag at the same time.
Super thick because there's no airflow. So it was just just super tight.
And
Yeah,
not
that
that I'm
sounds
the
about right.
radical surf, not that kind
Exactly.
of tight.
Yeah.
Okay, no, you're right, Maxine. It did sit next to their bumper cars.
Bro's doing the research on this. Let's go.
Yeah, I got the website up. I'm taking a look at pictures and I'm seeing some stuff they've kind of changed. I like how the bumper cars had like that old like carnival style to it, where it had like all the like flashing like lights in like a row.
I don't remember much of the
I don't remember that much either. I'm looking at the website.
of the bumper cars.
Well, going back to arcades, you mentioned that like there's a bunch of like those ticket games. Is there any one that you'd say you guys are really, really good at all?
No.
I'm pretty good at Pop the Lock. I actually beat that the other day.
Really?
Hey.
Yeah.
What's the strat?
Just you have to be just quick reflexes. The game's pretty beatable. It's not rigged.
Would you say it's one of the more fair ones?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
So I think it's one of the more fair games you can play the Dave and Buster's by a long shot.
Pop the Lock. I'll have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, because I mean, like, there's not much of the game can do to like throw you off really, other than what the game does normally. So if you're fast enough, you're good.
No, because I remember the arcade at Castles and Coasters. It was like pretty Dave and Buster-y on the first floor. Like you got your like typical ticket games. You got all the modern stuff. They had a VR thing, which like who in their right mind would pay like $30 to put on a VR headset that a bunch of 5-year-olds who don't clean themselves at all.
I mean, hey, if you can't afford a VR headset, you might pop in there to play Beat Saber.
Okay, but you're like begging to get like an eye infection or something. Like
I don't understand.
Fuck it, Yellow. I go to water parks.
Because like, I not to tangent more on arcades, but I completely agree with you there, Noah. Because like, Maxine and I went to this bowling alley that's kind of a major franchise, so not an independent place, but. I see like this in the arcades now. They're like having VR arcades. We put on like an old HTC Vive or something, and I'm looking at it, and like one of the kids is literally pressing it up against his face as hard as he can.
Fuck.
And when he took it off, I went to take a look at it, and the rubber that would like the foam you would put against your face is so crusty and so dirty. Yeah. I'm like, how do people want to use that?
Is it like when he took off the headset, like the headset was printed on his face? Or...
I didn't watch him that long. I just noticed that was kind of funny. But when we were leaving, I looked at the headset and I'm like, that is the crustiest looking thing I've ever seen. That looks horrible.
I don't get it. They definitely don't. If they don't clean like their regular machines, they're not going to clean a headset.
No, God, no. Like, in those kind of places, I don't think they're paid enough to bother.
Like, you might as well just like lick like a toilet at that point. Like, at least then, I don't know.
See, you gotta go an independent place that actually cares about their arcade. like Retro City Arcade, or what's that one place?
Well, there's
in
Neon
LA?
Retro, or there's Family Amusement Arcade. I always recommend those for like local arcades. I'd love to do a podcast on them at some point.
You'll support them because they'll probably actually clean the stuff to an extent.
Yeah, major shout out to those guys. We're gonna totally influence a bunch of people to go do that.
Hey.
And then they're gonna contact us and they're gonna be like, "You guys helped us so much. You get free tickets to go all the time."
Fuck
Watch.
yeah. Hey, if they want to sponsor us, I'm down. Oh, man.
I can't wait to like listen to this podcast one day and it's just gonna be like, "This is sponsored Manscaped. Do you ever need to shave your balls?" I don't know.
Man, don't throw my sponsors away yet. We got to get them still. I need the money. I ain't rich. Oh, man. Moving on, though. There was a couple interesting things about golf and stuff I wanted to bring up in this podcast. One of the things that I read about golf and stuff in Ventura County was that the mural at the back of the park that has a bunch of anthropomorphic characters on it, that was drawn by furries. So that were like locals to like Ventura County.
Nice.
Still up there, I'm pretty sure. But like it's a bunch of people's personas that I think aren't even in the fandom anymore. So if you're in Ventura, go check that out.
It's an in memoriam now for those like personas.
They're representing.
Like for real, I didn't recognize like any of the sonas, like anybody I know locally, but I'm like, so someone pointed it out to me that it was a bunch of furries that they knew previously that we're just sneaking things onto them. Furries? Oh yeah, no, they're very obviously furries once you know. Like they're.
I've noticed that like furries have a very distinct art style, like the way like it's diverse, of course, but there's like a certain way they draw things where it's like you can kind of sort of pinpoint it. Would you agree?
Yeah, I definitely, you can kind of tell when something is inherently furry artwork versus generally anthropomorphic. And I would say this stud definitely leans towards furry. Let's see, what else did I have? I had one other piece to the podcast.
Do you know when that mural was drawn? Like,
the mural was done early 2000s, I want to say.
Oh, that's cool. So
it's been there a while.
Real furry history on.
Yeah, it's definitely like, it's been there a while kind of deal. The other thing I wanted to bring up, one of my ever memories of like this place being in the news was, I know Ventura County and Oxnard have had an issue with like white supremacist gangs for a long time. And I know this golf and stuff was the target of one of their attacks at one point. Because on one of the mini golf courses, they had little like figurines that were black. And I remember that got burnt down in one of those white supremacist attacks during like 2020. Yeah, that was like a thing that actually happened in like 2020 or like 2021, right around then. So, Ventura County. Jesus. So just wanted to share that little tidbit of information. They repaired it and put it right back up later, but
Fun facts.
Ventura's sketchy.
And white supremacy.
Basically. That's what I got. That's the interesting stuff I got. There used to be a bit of a Dance Dance Revolution community scene around it. I don't know how much that's there anymore. But I have one of the like DDR
are so dedicated to at Dave & Buster's, my friends, and there were people, I shit you not only lined up, but people on the side were writing notes. What notes do you write for DDR? What are you writing down? You need to step left harder. Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't get it. I don't get these people.
Okay, you gotta like go look up like some of the professional DDR players. Some of them do like literal like break dances on the pads, or like they'll do flips and shit. Like it's impressive. Like I've seen like some crazy shit with DDR players.
You have to be doing the song so much and the track so much to have to memorize what you would hit to do stuff like that.
Oh yeah. No, these are the people that have played these tracks hundreds of times, thousands of times probably. I know there's like at least a couple people like in the LA area that have like garages with DDR machines where they practice.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
Those things have got to be.
Oh yeah. No, I went looking into the price of one out of curiosity. They're not cheap, especially with the full pad and everything. But I mean, like the dance mat you get at home with the fucking, the fucking Wii version sucks. Those pads are just awful.
Oof.
Well, I wonder how much that like. Sorry, James, but I wonder how much the what's the new dancing game? It's not DDR, but it's the one with the full pad and like the camera and you duck and you jump. Like I wonder if you could buy like an individual version of that. For
Just
home.
Dance.
You talking about Beat Saber?
Not Beat Saber.
What Just Dance?
You got the duck and stuff for that.
It's like Just Dance where you actually have like the hand movements and everything.
Nah, it's not Just Dance. It's got a giant dance pad. We did it at the barcade.
Oh shit, that one, yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Well, that's like Japan always has their crazy rhythm games coming in, And they had all sorts of interesting stuff. So yeah, round one's always a fun time because you'll come across some weird games you've never played before.
Dude,
that have been imported.
When I went to go to the movie a little bit ago, I went to round one to wait for my friend, and there was this dude like chilling, like, dude, you want to dance with me? And I'm like, yeah, sure. He's like, okay. He swiped his card. He's like, okay, let me see what you got. And I danced, and I thought I did okay. This dude starts doing fucking backflips, breakdancing. I recorded a little bit of it. I feel bad, but I'm just like, there's no shot. And then he's like, dude, really cute. Can I get your number? I'm like, yeah, sure. Are you fucking kidding me? And then like I texted him, and I'm like, oh, he's like, oh, do you want to meet up like Wednesday? I'm like, oh, dude, I'm busy. He's like, oh, okay. And I messaged, he never messaged me back. What the fuck?
Rip.
I'm like, what was that like? Was he a ghost? Was he real? Am I imagining this?
Dude breakdances to flirt with you, and then they run away.
Bro breakdanced, said I was cute, got my number, doesn't elaborate, leaves. Like, what the fuck?
Jesus. Rhythm game people are something else, but gotta love them. You gotta.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, moving on from golf and stuff. So the other part of this video I wanted to talk about Castles and Coasters, the independently run park in Phoenix, Arizona. So Noah, my ex, and I went to this a couple of years ago, and then I'd previously been. I remember when I was like a little kid, I'd gone to this park way back. I was like mid 2000s. I'd been to this park. I think before you were born, Noah. Frankly.
Whoa.
So I've been to this park more than once, but on a more recent trip, I feel like we got a pretty good feel for the park. What are some of your thoughts on Castles and Coasters?
It was honestly kind of funny because it was on a cloudy day. It was the day after Christmas. So, like, it was just, like, nobody was there. It was a very, very empty. And I honestly think, like, it felt like we were kind of at, like, an abandoned place. Like, everything was kind of, like I remember the mural on, what's the first, it's like the American, or the United States themed one.
It's the Patriot, I think is what they call it.
The Patriot, yes.
Yeah, I'm pulling up their website right now to take a look.
I remember the mural when you're ascending was like completely fucked up. And it also had like a bunch of like non-licensed characters. Like it had Mario, but he was blue, and like Sonic, and he was like red and Italian, and like Kermit the Frog, but he was like a pig. It was wild. I don't know. I honestly really liked it though. It had a certain charm to it. Like there was a sense that like things broken and I could die, but not enough where it was broken and I thought I could die. That makes no sense, but you get what I mean.
I get that feel. Everything was just a little bit like stuck together and a little bit older, but like it also felt like everything had a bit of a kick to it that made it really entertaining.
I remember you said the back of what's the second coaster called?
Patriot's the smaller one, but I think the larger one's called Desert Storm because they're both themed to American stuff.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning the back of Desert Storm was just like rigidy as hell.
Yeah, the back of Desert Storm was something else. So like Desert Storm's, to give an idea for the audience here, Desert Storm was basically their big crown jewel of the park. It has like a couple loops on it at least, and it's a pretty tall coaster. I think it hits. Let me look at their coaster database thing on it. It's like at least like over 100 feet for sure. Let me pull up roller coaster database. Should have already had this up.
What I remember of both coasters, but the first one I'm freaking out, the Patriot. Bear in mind, this thing is like a kiddie coaster. I am so bad with hers. I always go because Maxine always invites me and I'm always down, but holy shit, like that one was small, like tiny, and I was freaking screaming. And then when we were on Desert Storm, I think I sat with your ex and then you were in the back. I was holding on to your ex like she was my fucking girlfriend. I was like, like I had my eyes closed.
I remember that
the whole time. I was fucking gripping onto her like she was. It was insane. And then like
the coaster's pretty intense, honestly. Like it's a pretty sizable coaster. Looked it up. It's about 90 feet, so not quite 100 feet, but like it had a bit of a drop. Hits a max speed of 50 miles per hour. Yeah, and actually the craziest part about the ride is that on the loop of the ride, it hits about 6.2 Gs or something like that. It's really high G-force, honestly, for a roller coaster.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that when we went. Like, the G-force is just insane. That's a crazy movie, by the way, G-force. Anyhow.
No, like, the roller coaster, it's weird because, like, it was not built with that G-force in mind. It's just because the loop is so tight on that course. Like, honestly, it whips you through that. Like, you just, like, plastered to your seat going through that loop. I don't know. I think Coasterpedias might actually have it here. 5.5 G. Desert Storm. It's actually the third highest G-force on a roller coaster in the world.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's second, or it's third only to Shockwave at Six Flags Over Texas and Tower of Terror at Gold Reef City. So 6.3 Gs at Tower of Terror is the highest one. I do know there's some other like theme parks though that have have high G-force coasters that just haven't been measured yet. So I'm sure this list is like incomplete. Like I would be willing to bet that like I'd be willing to bet like Tatsu at Magic Mountain, for example, probably should be on the list, or Goliath.
Please.
But like Desert Storm's no joke.
Outside of Desert Storm, there were a lot of other rides there. I know you had a really wild experience with the drop coaster.
Oh god,
if you want to talk about that.
I fucking hate drop towers. I can't do it. I was at the fucking adventure one. I was talking about the other part of this podcast at what's it called? Adventure City. And that was a smaller drop tower, and that scared the crap out of me. Something about dropping underneath yourself, I just have a hard time with. And I don't know what it is. I don't know.
I don't get that, because on a roller coaster, not only are you dropping, you still get that same in your stomach, but you're still going afterward. No sense of... It's the same. You're going high up, you drop, then you go, you drop. So it's like, I don't get how that bothers you, but like not...
I think it's the anticipation, because once I'm going, I don't care. Like once the drop ride's going, I'm fine. But while I'm waiting for the drop ride to start, it sucks. I absolutely hate the anticipation. I hate lift hills, but at least on a lift hill, I'm looking upwards, so I'm not paying attention to how high I am up most of the time.
Yeah, but like...
Kind of hard to like avoid that when you're on like a fucking like drop tower and you're staring straight ahead. And you're like, oh, I'm this high up.
When I went on the ride with you guys, you guys were like, don't worry, Toa, you're good. And I'm like, ah! And then like, Ride is like, I think you were like saying, all right, you're still good. No, ah! And then you just fucking drop and scream so hard.
That sounds about right.
Oh, that's not that bad. I think you hurt your leg though, didn't you?
Did I? I don't remember. I might have slammed it into the vehicle.
Yeah.
Like the underside of it. I believe that. No, it was a 120-foot drop tower looking at the stats on it on their website.
The stats here.
Yeah.
No, because I remember your ex first, and I'm just like, she's like staring us down, and I'm like, oh my god, like, I'm about to do this, so fuck.
That's what it feels like. It's always the anticipation that kills you. That's why I'm like, I'm probably never going to do Drop of Doom, because the anticipation just kills me.
How long does it take to get to the top for Drop of Doom?
Oh, it's about 410 feet, so it takes like a good like 15, 20, 30 seconds. It's in that range. It takes a while to get up there.
30 seconds to contemplate all your decisions, just retrospect on your life, question everything.
Why did I step into this ride?
Why did I step into this ride? Why was I bored? Why?
What?
Oh shit, okay.
That was fun.
That wasn't right?
Basically.
Have you ever done a drop tower games? And what are your thoughts on them?
I do not believe I've done a drop tower yet, but I find them somewhat terrifying and at the same time very funny to watch other people do.
Right.
The most intensive ride I think I've done was a loop-de-loop at one of the major theme parks in our area.
Oh wait, you mean the one we did when we went to Simi Valley Town Center for like their carnival thing?
No, it wasn't the carnival.
Was it Magic Mountain?
It was a major theme, probably. And I forget where this roller coaster is from. I don't remember. I don't know why, but I want to say SeaWorld. Does SeaWorld have roller coasters?
They do, yeah. They actually have a lot more coasters now than they used to when I was younger.
Yeah. There's one that just launched you really hard. But that was like, don't lean forward, you're going to get whiplash. So I'm like, yeah, sure, Dad. And they launched me and I got whiplash.
Sounds about right. Always lean back on those kind of rides.
Okay. Just imagine your dad's like, don't lean forward. You're like, yeah, right. You just lean forward as far as possible. You just get shot back in your seat.
You're just like, oh, my head's
that was
now.
basically the vibe.
Oh, man. All right, here's another bit I remember. Do you remember the ropes course and zip line at Castles and Coasters?
I remember the guy who did the zip line called me a bitch because I screamed during it. That's what I remember. I remember, I flew in, I was screaming, and he's like, and you guys were laughing. I'm like, what are you laughing at? And you're like, they just called you a pussy or a bitch, and I'm like, wow.
I do remember that. Oh man, that guy was kind of a dick, but he was funny.
It was kind of funny though. I didn't mind. I was just like, yeah, true.
My favorite bit was when my ex Alice got stuck fucking on the zip line.
Like it was really windy, so like you just got stuck right at the midpoint, and they had to get like that giant fucking pole to like slowly move her back.
She was up there for like 15, 20 minutes or something like that while they found the damn thing. I remember that. That was funny. That was right after the guy called you a bitch, so...
I think we're like, all right, we're just gonna go like to the arcade. Like, all right, see you guys. I'm just gonna be up here.
That's right, we did Chitcher. Ay.
And we come back. I think we checked like after a couple of minutes, and she's still up there. But like they're like trying to mangle the pole and everything. It was great.
That's right. Because they had to like kind of drag her with the thing, like the metal pole, to get her to actually go over there.
I just love it's like this, just like cloudy sky with like the sun draping exactly so you could see her silhouette with this wire. It's just like super high up and everything, just chilling. It's great.
I've done a zip line once, and that was terrifying.
Well, which zip line did you do?
Which one?
It was one on the pier, or by the pier.
Oh, that one. Yes, that was the one in San Diego, right?
Yeah.
At that boardwalk park. I thought about it. I should have done a segment on boardwalk parks.
You have a much better memory than I do.
I do.
I remember it being my first time doing something like that, and I was freaking petrified out of fear. And I was like, oh my god. I thought I was going to die when they threw me because I weighed so much, and everyone else that was going on it were kids. I was just like, there's no way I'm going to survive this. There's no way.
I'm going to die.
I
legit screamed, I'm going too fast when they let me go. And then they stopped me, and then everything was fine. And I'm like, wow, okay, I really embarrassed myself there.
No, I think we all have that reaction first time. Unless you're like an adrenaline junkie.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I think you're always freaking out before you do a ride, especially like if it's the first thing of the day or the biggest thing of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I just was thinking of some of the shit that Maddie and I went on where we had like getting fucking launched by a slingshot at Magic Mountain, or those sky coaster things are terrifying, but really fun.
Were those the ones in Vegas? Or
the sky coaster's like the one that where you get strapped in with like 3 people or so, and then like it's a giant swing on a rope basically, and you get dropped from one side.
Oh god, I hate those. I've seen videos of those.
Oh, they're so fun though. I only did it the once, but it was pretty great. Not gonna lie.
Man.
But like pulling that rope for the first time, that's sketch. It feels scary. So
Jesus Christ.
I posted a couple here in the Discord chat here.
All right. I got
kind of jog your memory of some of the shit going on at Castles and Coasters.
Okay, so there was the one where you get wet, and I remember being really upset because I was wearing my fucking Uzumaki shirt that I really liked, and I'm like thinking, oh wait, yeah, I'm gonna get wet, and then I got wet. And
that was a log flume.
Noah got wet.
That was kind of like a classic log flume there. It didn't have too much excitement. It wasn't like Disney or Knott's where they have all the animatronics and everything.
But I remember it was a two-seater, and instead of you guys like leaving me out, I just fucking sat on your lap, which was a lot more sketch than it should be.
That's right. Yeah, because like that whole park was just a little bit.
Yeah, the fact that they let us do that was pretty stupid to begin with. Now I'm thinking about that.
True.
To be fair, I'm so small that it wasn't like, it was literally just like one person, like a slightly taller person sitting, but still.
Oh man. But yeah, I always like log flumes. Remember that one with like the centrifugal force one, where like you're being flung around with like that hill? I forget what those are called, but it feels like a roller coaster, except that you're going in like a circle up and down a hill, being flung at high speed, round and round.
That one was pretty cool. I remember the guy. So you're just spinning around and you're going up and down like a wave essentially, and it just gets faster and faster and faster and faster. I think and then it goes back around and then it does the same thing.
Yeah, that's right. It switches up and goes backwards.
I remember the guy who was operating it like stopped, and then everyone was starting to like, or thinking it's over, so people started leading up and they just started up again, and everyone was like, oh shit.
I just always love how your friend gets plastered to you on these kind of rides.
Right.
Whoever's in the middle, the seat on the inside will just be slammed up against you by the end. No way to get off.
Sea Dragon, the fucking Viking swing. I need to rant about this. The biggest thing I hate in any coaster, any ride, is that pit in your stomach, that little drop. Because for me personally, because I have like asthma, whenever I pass out, I have that similar feeling of that drop in my stomach. So I'm like, my brain's like, holy shit, you're gonna faint, you're gonna die. Like that's what my brain associates it with. So whenever I feel that drop in my stomach, I'm like, like I freak out. So Sea Dragon is a swing that goes high up, drops you back down. You feel that pit in your stomach the most out of anything there. And I was like saying, okay, let's like sit in the middle. And then your ex just races to the edge where it's the worst. And then like she grabbed me. I'm like, okay, fuck it. I guess this is what we're doing. So that's what I remember. Like, oh, fuck me. Like this is what we're doing.
Oh, man. Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds, yeah, all those rides just make me sick anymore. I still, like, these days I have to, like, fucking take Dramamine to go to any of these kind of parks. Shit, I can't find. I had the coaster up. I had a picture up.
And then there's the 3D ride, which you got to pick from, like, it was essentially a shoot 'em up, and you wore 3D glasses, and there was moving chairs. I think there was also, like, steam or mist. There was something. I don't know for sure.
There you go.
But what I remember, and I was super proud of, is we walk out, and I not only did I have the highest score out of all of you, I have the third highest score in the entire arcade. I don't know if that's still up.
I think that I don't know if you're still up there, but it was pretty. That was pretty cool because they've been installing those in a lot of like smaller amusement parks. I think they're done by Triotech, which they've been doing like those kind of simulator rides for like Chuck E. Cheese for ages. Like if you ever walk into like see the Mad Wave Motion Theater kind of thing where you like lay down and have like the little mini movie in an arcade. I think that's Triotech, and they've slowly been like, pushing their way into the more outside the arcade industry into more of the amusement park industry. And the XD dark rides have been very much a push towards that.
It was really cool. It was a really cool little ride thingy.
Yeah, I think that covers most of that park.
I'm trying to think. There was like missions of like each of the rides. Obviously, like Patriots, like the mini Desert Storm. They had a mini drop coaster.
Yeah, do you remember the mini drop tower?
It's like what, like 10 feet? It was so short. I'm like, really?
Well, you had to have something for little kids, right? Otherwise, you're going to terrify them on the other one.
Oh, and remember that.
That's right, we did do the go-karts there. I think they were gas-powered as well. So like golf and stuff.
Oh, I remember the arcade had, like I think I said, like, the downstairs was kind of like your unassuming Dave and Buster stuff. But upstairs, they had, like, a full row of, like, old arcades. It was really cool. Like, I've never seen anything like that, like at such a mainline place.
It was cool, honestly, because it seemed like it was all, like...
Sick.
Yeah, it was like all high score based like 80s arcade games, like Donkey Kong and Galaga and Pac-Man, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was all the stuff you'd see at like a high score arcade.
Yeah.
Honestly, I kind of like the design of the arcade in there in general. It has like, you know, it's the castle. It's got that kind of vaguely Middle Eastern, like Tunisian theme going on with it. It kind of reminds me of a lot of like 90s era theming with theme parks. Like a lot of what Old Vegas used to feel like. It has a lot of that feel to it before like it became much more corporatized these days.
For sure.
Maybe I shouldn't say old Vegas. I should say 80s, 90s Vegas. So old for me, because, you know, that's when I was a little kid. What was still there.
You were a little kid in the 90s? Bro, you're old. Ew, boomers.
Okay.
Ew.
I think we're still Zoomers.
We're in our 20s and we're not 10 years old.
You know what's funny is I work with Gen Alpha kids, so, you know, we are...
Have you been called a boomer?
I haven't been called a boomer yet. I've gotten plenty of other ones, but I haven't gotten boomer yet. And I think boomer was a Gen Z thing. I don't think the Alpha kids came up with that one.
Oh, okay. Has anyone said skibbity toilet?
Yes, I have gotten that for sure. Oh man, no, I've gotten skibbity toilet, Ohio, Rizzler, the whole thing. I've heard all of them.
I'm so sorry. That's like, to some people, that's fun. A fate worse than hell.
It's actually, they don't use it too often, I'll say. It's not as common as I was expecting it, but it was still there. Like, every once in a while, you'd hear some kid just say something that was just nonsense. And you're like, oh shit.
Oh my god, that dude's got Riz from Ohio, like skibbity toilet, bro.
I heard a few, I will say. Oh, man. Yeah.
James, what is your favorite Gen Alpha slang? What is your guys' favorite Gen Alpha slang?
The one I heard the most is Riz.
Yeah, I think Riz has like...
initially.
I think that's like the least offensive of the bunch. In terms of like hurting my ears.
Too offensive.
Well, because I get Riz at least. Like, you know, Rizzler is someone that has charisma. I understand it's just a shortening of it, right? That's not too crazy. But like Ohio is just fucking nonsense. Skibbity is just fucking nonsense.
Nah, you're being skipped.
Okay, Ohio. Clearly from Ohio here. Like Cedar Point, you're from Ohio.
Is Cedar one as well?
Cedar Point? No, Cedar Point's a fucking theme park in Ohio.
Oh, I was fucking stupid.
It's like the one thing Ohio's known for. It's like Cedar Point and Cleveland. That's all I got.
Oh wait.
Talks about Ohio. Doesn't know a thing about Ohio.
No, I'm being skibbity.
Hey. Well, I don't think I have too much more to add on these parks. There's all sorts of parks like this all over America, frankly. I've been to like tons of just little roadside parks like this that have mini golf courses and go-karts and sometimes mini coasters or drop towers, bumper cars, the whole shebang. There's a lot I could talk about. For example, Castle Park in Riverside, which I almost thought about doing a bit on, which I went to for a Halloween event, which was really cool. More of these places should host Halloween events. They have the space for it. But I think for this episode, that's about it on the two parks we're focused on. If you're in Phoenix, go check out Castles and Coasters. It's a pretty good time. And if you're coming through Ventura, go see the furries on the wall. Because why not? Oh man, do you guys have any like closing thoughts before we end off the podcast?
Not particularly.
You don't have like an
other than support local businesses.
Support your local.
Yeah.
This is a very formal podcast.
We gotta come up with a theme song right here and now.
Okay, James starts.
Wait, I'm sorry, I zoned out. What am I doing?
All right, forget it.
Wait, that's a good start. What?
Deep.
Here.
Oh my God. Okay,
Wait, no.
we're done. We're done. I'm stopping the recording here. Hey, welcome to an episode or part, whatever. This part of Hear Hoodlum. This is part of a longer podcast on independent amusement parks. And this part, we're going to be talking about VR amusement parks and the kind of future of immersive theme parks. Joining me on the podcast today is actually the editor for this podcast. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, this is Fresh Prince of Phobos. And yes, I am the editor.
Yes, all this lovely editing work is being done by him here, and I very appreciate it because let me tell you, I'm a shit editor. So, yeah, the two of us just recently, last year, went to Vegas to hang out, and we ended up going to Area 15, which is one of the biggest new attractions to come out in Vegas in a while.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, start to tell us a little bit about it, Fresh Prince of Phobos. What are your thoughts on Area 15?
Very good, very immersive. It's one of the best experiences I went to. It's I honestly think that this sort of thing can soon be a contender to even Disneyland. I'm serious.
I think it's got potential. Honestly, it seems like a really cool direction for independent amusement parks to take.
Yeah, I agree.
So for those of you who don't know anything about Area 15, Area 15 is a massive warehouse complex outside the Vegas Strip on the west side of the freeway there. I don't know the freeway numbers. But it's this massive warehouse, and inside of it, it's free to enter, but inside of it are all these paid attractions, which basically range from any sort of new immersive experience you can come up with. So, of course, the really famous one right now is the Mega Mart. I'm sure you've seen advertised everywhere. Meow Wolf runs it, and Meow Wolf runs 3 different immersive experiences currently, including House of Eternal Return in New Mexico, and I think I forgot the name of the station, but there's one in Denver, and the new one that they're making in Texas. But on top of a Mega Mart, the entire complex actually contains quite a few other attractions, including an arcade bar, several VR attractions, several museums of illusion, which kind of feel a little bit like Instagram palaces, really. But anyway, any sort of weird experimental amusement park stuff that's coming out on the forefront seems to be popping up at Area 15. It's a really cool event space. They use it for raves a lot. I know Burning Man fans tend to go there quite a bit to do raves. I'll actually be there myself for the Pause rave at Las Vegas FurCon. That was a kickoff for that event. And yeah, no, honestly, it was a pretty cool experience. When we went there, we decided to check out a Mega Mart. That's the big event as the big place there. And I've been there twice now. So, here, can you tell me some of your thoughts about a Mega Mart heading into there for the first time?
It honestly, I wasn't really sure what to expect. I thought maybe it was some sort of parody of capitalism or something like that. But as you go in, you kind of see this and you go in further and further, it kind of has a story a little bit. It has like a story. It has like a bit of lore to it. And kind of I guess from what I can remember, it was sort of like the history of the market and, the ownership of it. I could be wrong though.
I mean, that was pretty much what the story is about. It's definitely talking about the owners and their weird history and this weird sci-fi world that wraps you up in. Because it's somewhat assuming when you first walk in, right? You walk into this space that looks like a typical grocery store from the outset.
Yeah.
But like, the more you explore into it, the more you realize all of these objects you see, while they look normal at first glance, are all freakishly weird things. And you can buy them too, which is kind of like a crazy ass gift shop in there.
Yeah.
Like
and
sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, I was just gonna say it's a very interactive experience too. You can I think you can get these like Omega Mart cards and you can insert them and you can kind of learn about more of the lore of Omega Mart, and it's very interesting, very deep, very well thought out.
Yeah, honestly, it feels a bit like playing like a point-and-click adventure in real life, where
yes, it does.
When you start to get like those cards, right, the employee cards or whatever they're called, you take them around the entire area and you can like hook them into different things, and it teaches you about the lore of the space that you're in. It's an incredibly creative and unique idea. I mean, it reminds me a lot of the immersion that bigger theme parks try to go for, but I feel like it can do a lot more than something like Galaxy's Edge just because of the fact that it's much more contained and much more artsy, frankly. I feel like they let you interact quite a bit more with it than I think your average theme park.
Yeah, it's pretty surrealist, isn't it? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's absolutely surrealism. It's absurdist and it's surrealist in like every sense of the word.
Yes, and the deeper you go inside, like it gets like the lighting really intensifies. The interactivity intensifies, and like even like when you later on in the exhibit, you can actually go and do like this drum machine thing, and like you can like press these buttons and it'll make like beats and stuff like that, which I thought was pretty cool. I
do remember that. I actually remember at 2-Bit Circus, the VR amusement park in Los Angeles, they had something very similar where they just kind of invite the visitors in to come create their own weird art out of these different machines they have set up, which I think is one of the biggest appeals for these kind of parks, is that it's just how interactive it is. I mean, honestly, I think it appeals very much to like the Instagram generation, where you really get a chance to like come into the experience and be part of the experience, as opposed to viewing it. You go somewhere like Disneyland, it feels like you're very much watching everything happen. Whereas I feel like at this theme park, it's you're part of the experience. You can interact with employees and they'll talk to you about weird stuff. And Disney does this to some extent. I just don't think nearly to the same extent.
Yeah, role playing.
Yeah, it absolutely feels like a role play. Having done stuff like Wasteland Weekend, that's very similar. It reminds me a lot of that.
I mean, there is role playing at like Disney World and stuff. I mean,
oh yeah, they've had aspects of that, I would say,
and stuff like that. Like honestly, when I see videos like of the characters like talking to the camera and stuff like that, talking to each other, it reminds me of like pro wrestling in a way, like what's known as kayfabe, yeah, and or like, which is like just the of stories going on and stuff like that.
No, yeah, I definitely think Disney has made an attempt at doing that to some extent. I think what Disney suffers from is the fact that there's so many people coming through their doors that they can't tailor suit that little individual experience to each person. And I think that's where Meow Wolf's able to shine, is that because they're much smaller experiences and they're more tailor suited to a small group and more deliberate, I think with certain things, they're able to do a lot of what Disneyland can't do.
Yeah,
given the amount of crowds that are coming through on a daily basis.
Another cool thing about Omega Mart is that they have this little bar. Would you say it's a speakeasy, or is it like
it's kind of a weird little speakeasy? It's the way you're supposed to be able to access it is by finishing the main story, but Lily took us there basically to it, and it was cool. It's like kind of hidden in this little area. And it reminds me of kind of the rest of the rest of a Mega Mart that has tons and tons of secrets hidden in there.
Yeah. She loved that too, and she loved the bar also.
It was a pretty cool little bar, honestly. I thought it was a really fun little reward for like anyone that actually has the patience to solve the puzzles. 'Cause I'll tell you, I've tried doing some of those puzzles. It's over my head. It's the reason I'm not that good at like Ocarina of Time or anything.
Yeah, like they like I remember at the bar they had this drink that had this well, spicy's not the right word, but you can eat this little fruit, I think it is, and it's like it had an effect on your tongue.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's very similar to the drink they have at Galaxy's Edge, actually. That like numbs your tongue. I forget the name of it, but it's like that. Yeah, it's been like a popular thing at like quirky bars like that recently.
Yeah, we'll insert the name of it if we can, if we can find it.
You can find it somewhere. Definitely worth a drink for sure.
Yeah.
I just remember the first time I went to a Mega Mart, what really stood out to me again was just how many hidden passages there are. Because like once you get to the back of the main part of the store, it starts to take you down these. You'll open a random door and you'll end up in a completely different universe, right? Like the main area to start off in is like this grocery store, but once you're past that, there's like you're in a canyon. You are in this like trippy rave atmosphere. Everything just feels like this massive room, and you realize how much bigger it is once you're past the main area.
There's even one where you like climb up this rope and up these steps, and like I felt like Lara Croft right there. Yeah,
I mean, it's really creative how much they hide in there. I think the one bit that stood out to me the first time I went there, there's this one locker you can open. And when you open up, you'll notice the locker because it's got like this goop that's like coming out of it. If you open up that locker, and then it'll open up a second locker, and then the second locker will have like a doorknob. And then you can open that, and you realize that the entire wall is a door. And you can just step right through into a completely different area of the event.
That's pretty cool.
It really is cool. It's like there's so many small details where you're like, whoa. Okay, apparently not even, the entire facility hasn't even been discovered yet. I guess there's a lot of rooms that are so well hidden that people still haven't actually gotten to them yet.
It's like a secret in a video game, like a secret door.
Yeah, that's why I think it's so crazy that there's literally doors people haven't found yet. Like, considering how many, probably hundreds of thousands of people have gone through or more, maybe millions at this point. Like, it's surprising that there's stuff that people haven't found still. Like, it shows just how much intricacy there is being done with the architecture in that building.
Yeah, total. I love exploration-based stuff like that, like in games especially.
It really does feel like
having it in real life is.
Yeah.
And having it in real life is very much a treat.
It was interesting to look back at the original ones. I still haven't been to there's the other two Mount locations, and I haven't been to them yet. But I know the original one was in New Mexico in Albuquerque, which is a town that's very well known for its quirky art scene. And the original one was in a former bowling alley, and the project was financed by George R.R. Martin. So actually got George R.R. Martin to thank for the fact that we have Meow Wolf.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Did he help to produce this project at all, or no?
Not so much. He just funded it.
Okay.
He was funding the Albuquerque art scene, and he saw that project, and he's the one that basically sent them the money to let them do the project they wanted to do.
Very good.
Yeah. I'm glad he did, because it's a very worthwhile project, and I'm honestly think there should be more. I want to see more theme parks try it. I've seen a couple attempts at similar stuff. The problem is that you do need to make sure that you put enough of a budget into it that it doesn't just become an Instagram palace, though. Because I've been to those as well, and they're not nearly as cool.
The thing about Area 15 is that I've always thought is that it's the nice alternative to the big theme parks. It's the smaller. It's like this. I don't know if it's a theme park so much. It is an experience, but it is a nice little entertainment district.
I think it's really cool that it's like the modern take on what Vegas was in the 80s and 90s. Because Vegas in the 80s and 90s was very heavily based around theming, and a lot of that's been killed off in Vegas over time.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see
it is
someone trying something
kind
totally
of a
different.
Throwback. It is kind of a throwback to that, but with a modern day twist.
Yeah, I do like that we're seeing more places like that. So for example, in Los Angeles, there's this place called the Madcap Motel. I don't think it's around anymore, but basically it was doing this walkthrough tour experience that very much reminded me of what they were doing at a Mega Mart. Like, it's very similar kind of feel. Something I've noticed with the immersive space in general is that a lot of like former haunted house stuff has become less interested in being just straightforward scary and more interested in trying to give like immersive experiences to people. Like the idea of like a living play is like way more common now than it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, also, like, at Area 15, I really love the arcade bar. That was really good.
Yeah, the Asylum was pretty cool. It's a pretty solid bar in there.
Yeah.
They had some oddball machines that I just not seen elsewhere.
Yeah, it was really nice to see. Like, the thing is, like, back when I was a teenager in, like, the 2000s, I was kind of fearing that, like, that, like, the whole arcade thing would go away, and I'm really glad to see that that's not the case, that arcades are still alive and well. Maybe not so plentiful, but I think that's okay, because I think...
Well, like I was saying in the other episode, I feel like arcades in general have kind of split into a couple different categories, which is the more high-tech ones, / Dave and Buster's kind of style, versus ones that are like classic retro-style arcades.
Absolutely.
I want to go into detail about that more on another episode, because I would like to talk about the history of arcades and where they are currently, but probably more on a different episode. There were a couple other attractions when we were there, though. I know you didn't get a chance to check out too much of the other stuff, but there was some stuff that it was rather intriguing. There's a lot of VR-based stuff, like because Omega Mart doesn't have any VR, but VR I know is very popular, especially in conjunction with simulators now.
Yeah.
It's interesting seeing like how a lot of things that used to be straightforward simulators have now become VR simulators. I know Dave & Buster's has been experimenting with that by having their little VR machine that'll play different movies, but then they put you on in this little rotating vehicle with a headset on. And honestly, it's pretty good for what it is. There's other cool stuff, though. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. The axe throwing place, looking at this, there was a golf, like, digital golf thing. And then there's all sorts of weird ideas, stuff like Lost Spirits Distillery, which is described as basically the Willy Wonka of distilleries, where they take you on like a boat tour, and then you go through this thing doing like whiskey tasting.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to ask about that, and I think I don't think we were able to go, were we? We didn't have the money for it.
No, yeah, it wasn't cheap. One of these times, though, I wanted to do it. Like, it looks really cool. I've heard nothing but good stuff about it.
Yeah, I'd like to as well.
I will say some of the things in here, though, looked a bit like Instagram palaces. Like, for example, Museum Fiasco, it looked like it was just a lot of really pretty lights. And I don't know, I haven't done it myself. But it looked like it was just a lot of pretty lights that were good for, like, taking Instagram shots on. And I remember there's a couple of those kind of events that are, like, labeled immersive, but end up being mostly for taking pictures for your Instagram account that I think tend to be a little lazily done. And that does concern me, is that I do worry that some people see the success of some of these like crazier immersive experiences and go, oh, we can do that on a budget. Like, for example, have you read anything about the Willy Wonka controversy going on in Scotland currently?
Oh yeah, that was awful.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff kind of like that lately, where it's a little more that was an egregious example, but I've seen other stuff where I'm like, this immersive experience that's being advertised turned out to be kind of and wasn't all that special, where it was very lazily done, and a lot of it was down to the hype in the advertisement.
Weren't they using like AI imagery to advertise that?
Yes, they were. Which, that's another big issue, is how advertisements are being done so lazily with VR now.
That is just sick.
It was pretty gross, honestly.
Yeah.
Ripped off a lot of people in that one. I don't want to go into too much depth about that, but I thought that was pretty just crazy that we were starting to have events like that, where people are getting hyped up for something that's not really true.
So if you're a character actor, like, and you want to work at like a park, do some really deep research.
Yeah, I have to agree on that one. I haven't worked as a scare actor at Haunted Hayride. Do your research on the organization you're working for, because they don't always have the best practices.
Yeah.
I say that on my podcast. Hey, Haunted Hayride, you guys weren't that great. As much as I loved all my coworkers. Just gonna say it. Fuck it. So I think. That's what anyway. So one of the other interesting ones I want to talk about, I know you're not as familiar with it, but I'm talking a little bit about it on the show here, was 2-Bit Circus in Los Angeles. And 2-Bit Circus is this VR amusement park in downtown LA, in the Arts District, that was created by Nolan Bushnell's son. I forget his name. In fact, let me look it up. But Nolan Bushnell's son essentially created this massive VR amusement park. I don't want to say Brent, or either Brent or Tyler Bushnell. Oh, hold on. It's one of them. Brent Bushnell. Brent Bushnell is the one that created it. So the whole idea with the park is essentially very similar to Area 15. It's the future of immersive entertainment. And 2-Bit Circus does a really good job with that, in that the entirety of 2-Bit Circus is very focused on basically trying and experimenting with new VR, arcade, amusement attractions. They do board game stuff. They have like a creators school that they're trying to pitch right now. Or not pitch, they're actually creating like a school for people to come do classes and like build immersive experiences. There's a stage there that they do comedy shows at and trivia nights. They have escape rooms in there, very high-tech escape rooms, some of them, to the point where some of them don't even quite feel like escape rooms. My friend who was hoping would be on the show tonight, but I think they got busy. The two of us went recently and got a chance to try one of their escape rooms, which essentially ended up being us like going into a room and piloting a spaceship, but like with a crew of like 6 people. I forget the name of it, but honestly, it was quite the experience, and I want to see more of this kind of stuff in the future, because there's just so much creativity to it, and it doesn't have to be as elaborate as Disney but it can still be really cool in its own right. Space Squad in Space. That's the one we did. I highly recommend it for anyone in Los Angeles.
My opinion is that even if you don't have a Disney budget, I think you can still do pretty well. It's just like if you use the budget properly.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I think the creativity of the space is far more important than the budget that you put in.
Yeah.
But there's a lot in that space that was really interesting. They have a massive arcade, but the arcade is not just your standard arcade machines. A lot of the machines are custom made in-house. And so they have all sorts of like weird machines that just try all sorts of different concepts. For example, one of the machines' whole thing is that it has 3 very long screens that go up to near the ceiling. And then it's this game that where you have to roll a ball using a trackpad. Another one, if anyone's been to Dave & Buster's recently, there's a Hot Wheels game that has 8 players across in a row. Dave & Buster's created that. Or not Dave & Buster's. 2-Bit Circus created that, and then Dave & Buster's bought it from them. So if you ever go there, if you want to see the prototype machine, that's where they built it. Another game I think they built was Killer Queen. I'm not sure if it was them or the Brooklyn arcade that made that, but Killer Queen was built in one of those too. And I know Killer Queen's in quite a few arcades now.
That the one with the multiple the Hot Wheels one, that reminds me of this Sonic arcade game where you run on this treadmill and you have to race each other. There's like several treadmills and that you have to race each other. I think it's called like Sega Athletics or something like that.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of the DNA of these like modern interactive parks kind of hits at like the arcade era of the 90s and 2000s when they started to get very elaborate with them. And the biggest one that comes to mind for me is Disney Quest in Orlando.
Yes, Disney Quest.
Which, rest in peace, that place kicked ass. I loved that place. But like this Human Circus and like Area 15 feel like the modern equivalent of what they were trying to do at Disney Quest. So Disney was actually pretty ahead of the ball on that one.
Yeah, I feel like that they really should have, looking at Disney Quest, because I've never been there, but looking at it, they really should have evolved it for the next decade.
I think if they had just kept it open a little bit longer, and if they had managed to like get through the pandemic, I feel like it would slot really nicely now into what we have going on currently. I think it was a place that was very ahead of its time to its detriment. Because it came with all these cool ideas, but these ideas were not allowed to shine because it just wasn't budgeted properly for.
Yeah, it's just like, and then they replaced it with the NBA experience, and nobody cared about that.
Yeah, no one cares about that. Sorry, NBA fans, but let's be honest, you guys don't care about it that much either. No, I'm like Disney. I went to Disney Quest once the only time I've ever been to Disney World. And that place was cool. You had stuff like Cyberspace Mountain, where you built your own like roller coaster and then rode it in a digital simulator, or like in a simulator attraction. They had stuff like bumper cars with there was like Buzz Lightyear themed bumper cars where you shot like little foam balls at each other. Kind of like a upgraded version of that thing you've heard of at that Action Park with the tanks. You had stuff like just a lot of VR stuff, early VR stuff. Like they had Aladdin Magic Carpet Ride with like 90s era VR and like a simulator. It was cool. That place was genuinely cool. Oh, the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction might have been one of my favorites, where you were manning a pirate ship and had to go through battles. And like you actually like run around like the pirate ship, like shooting at like this 360 screen around you. I mean, that shit was cool. It's too bad that closed down.
Yeah. Like that early era of VR technology, like even when it was in its infancy, they heavily promoted it. Like they had virtuality and all that kind of stuff, and they had like VR cafes even in the 90s. But the technology just wasn't there yet.
It just wasn't there yet. And that's the truth of it. And a lot of VR amusement parks really struggled during the pandemic because I think a lot of them just weren't able, because there were such new concepts and they hadn't really proven themselves yet. They just weren't able to, a lot of them just weren't able to make it through the pandemic. But I've heard a lot of them are trying to make a comeback. I've seen 2-Bit Circus has been doing a lot more stuff recently. I've noticed they've been updating their calendar and adding a lot of stuff. And one of the big ones that closed down, the Void VR, the Void was the one that was outside downtown Disney, and they had a bunch of other locations around the U.S. I heard they're reopening, so after closing, I guess someone bought them up. So someone still thinks that, hey, they have a shot at making it, and I hope they do, because I really would like a chance to experience the Void. Still haven't yet.
Yeah. Like, I think that, I think, like, Disney Parks was really cool back when they were experimenting with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, honestly, I'm sad that you see a lot less experimentation. I think the last one that really intrigued me was Galaxy's Edge. I think Galaxy's Edge had a lot of promises that it didn't make good on, though, unfortunately. I've got a lot of good stuff to say about it, but I also have a lot of negatives to it. And I don't think anything that Disney has tried since then has been nearly as ambitious. Not even close.
Unfortunately, I haven't been to Galaxy's Edge, so I can't say.
I do think it's worth a trip. I think it's absolutely one of the crowning achievements of Imagineering, frankly. Rise of the Resistance is an incredible attraction. But I will say that I haven't seen anything since Rise of the Resistance. I haven't seen anything from Disney that wowed me. I mean, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway was pretty cool, but I don't know. Avengers Campus kind of sucked. I'm gonna be honest. It was lazy. That was a lazy area. Yeah. And I say that as someone that likes the Avengers.
I heard that was like really cheap.
It was. And the Spider-Man attraction, it was just Toy Story Mania again. And they did Toy Story Mania years ago. They did.
Yeah.
It was just like basically Toy Story Mania, but you used your hands instead of a toy gun.
Yeah.
It was disappointing compared to Galaxy's Edge, which really felt like they were trying... Like, Galaxy's Edge, for all its issues, felt like they were really experimenting and trying something new. What I think went wrong with Galaxy's Edge is that they didn't work out all the quirks with how the immersive setting works. Like, the whole, you're going to be on the good or bad side thing, dark or light side thing, didn't really work because of the some glitches in the tech that they were using. I think the other problem is that it feels a bit not populated enough. Like, they need more characters walking around, which I think they're getting better at, but it's definitely a process. And I know COVID screwed some of that up, so I don't want to be too harsh on them for that one. But there's definitely stuff that can be improved to Galaxy's Edge. But a lot of the newer Disney stuff is just kind of lame, honestly. And it doesn't surprise me that Universal's racing ahead like it is.
Yeah, do you think Universal is going to go all in that experimentation?
I think Universal is going to keep trying to do what it's doing currently, although I think they're aiming for that immersion that they got with Wizarding World of Harry Potter. So I think we're going to be seeing much more stuff like Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah, Super Nintendo World.
Yeah, Super Nintendo World is the big one. Honestly, that was really cool. And I would like to see more of that at amusement parks. That felt much more immersive than your average theme park land. That felt like what Galaxy's Edge was trying to do.
I am still hoping for like a Sega theme park one day.
Would be cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like, I'm looking at like Epic Adventure, and they even have like a Bellagio by the looks of it.
Interesting. I haven't done tons of research into it yet, but there's some stuff in there that intrigues me. Yeah, I might have to do another episode talking about Universal or Disney and where they're at currently. But I definitely think the future of amusement parks is going to be in immersion and these kind of immersive attractions. I just like to see that a lot of independent parks are really making a good effort at trying to compete with the big boys, and basically taking their shot at doing some really cool concepts. I want to see more people be creative with VR and these immersive experiences and try stuff that you wouldn't be able to do elsewhere.
I still believe that, on the subject of like the big theme parks and stuff like that, like Universal, Disney, I still think that Paramount should give it another shot. Like back like in the 90s, because
they'd have to start from scratch though, I think, since you heard like Cedar Fair and Six Flags are merging. That's going to be a whole thing.
Yeah, and also they've got stuff in American Dream and also like Mall of America, stuff like that.
Well, yeah, they have the Nickelodeon parks. The Nickelodeon parks are pretty simple, I'll say, for what they are. I went to the one in American Dream. It's a pretty solid amusement park, but I wouldn't call it a theme park. It just doesn't have the level of anything. There's no real theming. It's mostly Nickelodeon stuff on top of an amusement park, and a good amusement park, but like still an amusement park. It wasn't immersive at all.
Yeah. Like Paramount could try something like the Star Trek experience that used to be in Vegas.
That's the problem, though, is like trying to get Vegas to kind of be back what it used to be. Like, for example, that's why Area 15 is such a big deal, because it is pushing for like a lot of stuff that has been missing in Vegas for a long time. You don't have stuff like the Luxor anymore. You don't have stuff that the Star Trek experience anymore. A lot of those coasters are gone, stuff like that.
Well, what I was talking about is just like if they had their own theme park, like it didn't have to be in Vegas. Like they
I get you.
Have stuff like that over there.
Now the question though would be, would they want to start from scratch? Especially when you've heard about like Paramount was talking about merging with Universal. I think that would make a big difference on the choice there, because I'd be willing to bet if the two of them merged, they'd be wanting to push their IPs into the Universal parks.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, you'd have to really pick and choose everything, though.
They used to have some stuff anyway in the Universal parks. All the Nickelodeon stuff was in the Universal parks for a long time, basically until they were licensing it until the DreamWorks movies did so well, and then they kind of started replacing it all with DreamWorks characters. Yeah,
I'm surprised that Shrek 4D didn't last that long.
Shrek 4D was there for a long time. I feel like just. Eventually, it got replaced by Kung Fu Panda, because I don't think it was ever supposed to be like a singular theater. It's just that it ended up becoming that. Like, I know Kung Fu Panda 4D was not supposed to be the permanent attraction. It was supposed to be like part of like rotating attractions, and then it was too expensive, and they didn't do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the future's in this kind of immersive entertainment. I think I'm gonna probably finish off the recording here soon. So, do you have any thoughts?
Okay.
Any closing thoughts?
I mean, I could talk about this for hours and hours, but I think I'll just leave it here.
Fair enough. And so this was the episode of Hear Hoodlum talking about immersive theme parks and amusement parks. Yeah, go support your local amusement park. Find out what's near you. Try out some weird stuff. You don't always have to go to Disney for a good time. So anyway, this is Hoodlum. We'll be signing off.
Yeah, what she said.
Yeah. CL. Maybe I'll play that theme song that James and Noah made.